You brought it.
We're live in 30 seconds if you didn't hear that. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Flip you off.
Well, I hope that. Hold on, this key.
I mean, everybody put on their poker face.
Everybody make sure the pictures.
That one's done or?
No, this one's got to be done yet.
Everybody saw the pictures that are taken back in black and white days in the 1800s. There's not a single person smiling.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is.
Well,
You know,
It probably was.
They were told not to.
well, I'm sure.
Most of them had rotten teeth.
Well, I imagine. Well, and the other thing, there probably wasn't a hell of a lot smile about it.
That's true too.
But it is funny, all them pictures you see, the people are dressed up as fancy as they could. You know, it was
like
a
this.
Can I tell you guys a couple changes on the agenda?
Yeah.
John Dunlop is going to go after Family Crisis Center instead of before, and he's going to be doing it by phone. And then the City of Miller Finance Committee will not be able to attend, so you can cross that off the agenda completely.
I thought it was supposed to be a delegation of citizens who are on the pool committee and not the city.
Oh, yeah, I got an email from Chandler that said they wouldn't be able to attend.
I would say
Well,
then
that's
probably
what Tony
nobody's.
Randall told me 2 days ago, that the city was not going to be participating. It was
Oh,
just this
from-
private committee, yeah.
And then the next item is, there's a plat that was started for Slimkus. There's just documents for you to review without taking any action because they don't have their signatures of the property owners and stuff yet, so you won't be taking any action on that. And then the reservation that was made for CO is gonna be pushed back to March. I think that's all the changes.
Which one is moved back to March, you say, Doug?
The one that says reserved for CO. He was originally Cindy Oakley.
Oh, okay,
They don't have, it's in the plats.
okay.
Okay.
And Gibbs told me that he's gonna be watching online.
And he said if we need to get a hold of him, I can call him and we can get a hold of him.
Okay.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Gibb is absent.
Yes,
Excuse.
Excuse.
but he said he'd be watching online. As far as the consent agenda goes, there's 2 months worth of financial statements from the Register of Deeds. Actually, one's December and then one's year end. There's 2 months of library board minutes and then their year end financial. And then the minutes from the last meeting. Other than that, the only other item is Randy Beck's asking permission to travel to the annual Wheat Pest Conference, which is being held in Huron this year.
So that's part of the consent agenda.
Yes, sir.
All of that. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Who has the second?
Jim. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Janelle Fortin, I'm the Director of Family Crisis Center in Redfield. And I'm here today to present our resolution stating that the people in this area have a supportive and managed entity to assist families in need of assistance and victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and designates the Family Crisis Center as the entity of choice.
We do this every year, don't we?
This year, I'd like to explain about our purpose, how it came to be, and the situations we deal with. So it's a little background. I was working at the nursing home in Redfield years ago when I first met Sherry. Her and her daughter had left an abusive relationship and returned to Redfield. She talked about her situation, about starting a crisis center for those in her same position in Redfield. She, with the help of the state's attorney at that time and a small group of others, helped Sherry incorporate the nonprofit Family Crisis Center on December 17, 1986. The purpose was to provide temporary emergency refuge for persons and their children who have suffered physical and/or emotional abuse as a result of family violence. Sherry Aker Castaigne, she later remarried, has continued to assist battered victims by establishing multiple family crisis centers around the country. The Family Crisis Center now serves Han, Falk, and Spink County by answering calls 24/7, doing follow-ups with victims, giving them referrals, and maintaining a shelter-safe house that houses 7 beds in Redfield for up to 10 victims from these 3 counties that have been victimized by domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, human trafficking, elder abuse, stalking, adults molested as children, and other victims of violence, crimes, and their dependents at no charge and with no income eligibility standards. This allows victims the time to make decisions about their future plans while staying in a safe place with food, clothing, transportation, gas, counseling, and relocation expenses provided free of charge. We listen, offer support, and offer referrals for assistance to those that contact us for help. Our current shelter, called Ginny's House, was donated by Ginny Stapp's family in 2012 in her honor and moved to Redfield. Jenny was a very understanding, compassionate person and had been on the Family Crisis Center board for many years. The garage was added on in 2013, and Jenny's house opened on August 1st, 2013, with the help of numerous volunteers and staff. We are advocates that assist victims in finding attorneys, obtaining protection orders, attending court with them, and working with law enforcement. We work as medical advocates by accompanying victims to the hospital and obtaining medical assistance for injuries or sexual assault. We refer them to counselors for emotional counseling services, and our VOCA grant can pay for this assistance. We help victims find housing by offering referrals as well as job assistance to help work towards independent living. We do school presentations in all 7 public schools in the 3 counties to teach awareness of bullying, safe dating to 8th graders, and safety when starting college to high school seniors. We bring awareness to help prevent acts of violence by speaking to church groups and civic organizations in the 3 counties, by helping people realize that physical, sexual, and emotional abuse and coercive and financial control are forms of abuse, and understand that it's not okay, and then step in to help. We can't prevent it in our communities. There is a cost to all of us. City police in Miller picking up the abuser in a domestic violence situation, making an arrest, and transporting to jail costs the city a minimum of $300, depending on the number of deputies required and their amount of time involved. Transporting to jail depends on availability, whether they were Faulkton or human. After that point, the Henn County Sheriff's Office covers the costs. Jail costs are $85 a night. Simple assaults are usually 1 night in jail. If the charge is aggravated assault and there is a hearing, it may be 2 to 3 nights in jail. At a minimum, cost to Han County could be $300 for man hours. This is just the law enforcement costs. No medical or hospital fees are included in this. This does not include any further trial, sentencing, or jail time. For the victim, cost is anywhere from $184 to $974 in the emergency room. This all depends on how physical or sexual the abuse was. Does the victim need surgery or an extended hospital stay? Numerous things go into this cost. Work costs vary significantly. For a $15 an hour job, it would amount to about $120 per day in lost wages for the victim. But that does not tell you about the lost production from that employee. The other thing to consider is how long they are out from work. Do they have insurance? If not, where is that cost going to be distributed? Emotional support can be never ending. The victim has to deal with what happened to them forever. It is not something that goes away the day after it was reported. We now operate on only one VOCA, Victims of Crime Act federal grant that is matched by our volunteer on-call hours, and one DASA, Domestic and Sexual Assault State Grant, which provide emergency funds for victims, and a sub-grant through the South Dakota Network Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. In order to get the grants, we must acquire 25% of the funds from other sources. The Victims of Crime Act funds took some devastating cuts this last year, so our grant that we received from them was drastically cut as well. We received 25% less than we had requested to operate for fiscal year 2022, which began on July 1st, 2021. Additional funds from the American Rescue Plan grant was applied for, and we were awarded another $10,000. But this still leaves us about $18,000 short from what we need for this coming year to operate and help those as we have helped other victims in prior years. Currently, we're still about still $10,000 short that we're trying to make up for that. We accept donation furniture and household items to help people set up a home following exiting a domestic violence situation and to those in need. In 2021, we answered 57 crisis calls, 3,031 other calls, referrals, and follow-ups for a total of 3,088 calls in 2021. We sheltered 14 women and 10 children for a total of 699 shelter days in 2021. We helped with emergency financial assistance 214 times. We transported clients 206 times. We assisted 9 victims with relocation assistance for rent or utilities. And the relocation assistance is through the VOCA grant, where we can provide up to $1,000 per family per year for help with rent or past utilities. In 2021, we increased our advertising with a billboard, enhanced our website, have Facebook and Instagram to reach more victims, and our calls increased by 53.2%. This is why we want to educate everyone about abuse, whether it be physical, emotional, child, human trafficking, domestic, elder abuse, or stalking. We want to put the word out about abuse and that there's assistance for those suffering abuse of all kinds by doing videos, billboards, radio ads, and doing our website. We want everyone to know that if they are in an abusive situation, that the Family Crisis Center is there for them. We want everyone to be aware of this so that when victims ask their employer, clergy, teacher, or friend about it, they can tell them that the Family Crisis Center is there to help, or to call our crisis hotline at 605-472-0508. Does anybody have any questions?
Did you get any COVID money?
That
Yeah, she said that,
How much? Did that make up some of that
American
$18,000?
Rescue, we got 10,000 from that American Rescue.
yeah, usually
For the-
Federal one or something.
Actually, CARES Act, we didn't.
Nothing from that?
I don't know,
Is that
American
all?
Rescue Plan might be like going down with that, I don't know, but,
I thought you'd be in line for 10 from that, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought all the nonprofits did those lines
I don't know,
were
the.
prioritized. Well, I'm sure you've explored all the options, beat all the
Yeah.
bushes. I would move for passage of resolution 22-4.
On motion,
I'll second that.
Luke second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'll get you a copy quick.
Did you say John was next? Was he gonna call in? Was John gonna call in a certain time, or are we gonna
That's
do
what
that?
he said. Yeah.
Do it next?
He said he was going to follow,
That's what I thought.
but I haven't heard the phone ring.
Yeah. Otherwise Keisha's here too.
Yeah, it was whatever you did.
Maybe we'll just have to drop everything when it does.
We could do Keisha. Browning, Keisha Browning.
Yeah,
We could do,
yeah, we sure could.
because
Ty's here too. We can sure do her. Keisha.
because we can't do the public hearing until 2, right?
Yeah. Greg, we're just thinking we can sure do Keisha right now.
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah. Keisha, if you're ready, yeah.
Can I go without done or?
He'll be here in a minute.
Okay, first things first then, Luke, you've been avoiding me.
I've been busy.
I know. We're getting our picture then before
Okay.
the boss comes back. Will you take it, Jim? Come up here. We'll talk about this. We're getting it done right now, okay?
1, 2, 3. That's good.
Cheeseburger, like Keisha always say.
Jeez.
1, 2, 3, go.
I can work with that.
Better
You
check
can
it
run,
out.
but you can't hide from me, Luke.
Yeah, I know.
You should know better.
I do.
And that's a little something from me. Okay. So, first things first, we'd like to recognize Luke and thank him for his dedication. For the past 8 years, he has sat on the on-hand board with absolutely no compensation except for a few cups of coffee, some donuts, and maybe a breakfast sandwich. So, thank you, Luke. We truly appreciate your time. And we welcome Jim to our board here this last month. He attended our January meeting, so we are currently all set and ready to go for board members. My update. So exciting things have been happening. I missed the January meeting. My apologies. I had a scheduling conflict. Otherwise, I would have been here in January. Nothing has changed in our revolving loan fund. We still have 8 loans out in Han County for just over $600,000. That's approximately 80 jobs in our county. And in the last couple of months, I've given out 2 new applications and have heard nothing back. Recruitment program. I have 3 points with the recruitment program. Our first one is our local program, which is a match with the business. We have had 5 businesses sign up for that program, 5 new employees. 3 of those employees are in the ag field and 2 others are, we could say, healthcare. This is a matching program, first come, first serve. We set aside $15,000 for that program. The next program is the GOED program, which they match our match, and then the business matches that. They have a few more rules to theirs. So the employee needs to make at least $20 an hour and come from out of state. Those are the biggest 2 holdups that I'm running into. They will match any funds that we match up to $15,000. I have not signed anybody up for that program yet. The last one I want to talk about affects the county a little bit. It's our recruitment assistance program that the South Dakota Department of Health, On-Hand Development, the South Dakota Community Foundation, the City of Miller, and Han County all partnered together in 2018. For those of you that might have been in here and remember any of this, our current dentist is no longer enrolled in that program. So we have a dentist in town. He's great. Everything's going fine. But the city, the county, On-Hand Development, the Community Foundation, and the state are no longer putting funds aside for that program. Your part of that match was $6,532, and it would have been due had he stayed in 2023. On-Hand Development, our board voted to keep putting funds aside for future employees in any field. So whether it's a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, whatever the case may be that the community needs. So I just wanted to update you on that has changed. Okay. Hotel study. Last month I visited with a group of potential investors that would like to partner with local involvement. They are working on drawing up a plan to give people a really good visual of what that will look like at the Miller Community Center right there. We're also working on some numbers as far as what we would have to charge, what the potential profits would be, et cetera. Business visits, it's pretty fresh in the year. So to date, I've visited with 27. We cover everything in those business visits: retention, employees, problems, success stories, helping sell businesses that are currently for sale. We sold our last lot in the industrial park. I don't need to talk about that. Our sidewalk loan, we have 1 enrolled. Housing is obviously a huge issue in rural South Dakota. We were talking to the school about buying some land to the east of the school there. We've run into some issues with cost. We are problem solving. Our quality of life project right now is the sidewalk bike trail project that the city of Miller received the grant for back in 2020. That is set to start in 2022. Beautification, our Miller Community Center donor wall is almost to completion. Signs and awnings. If you drove down Main Street Miller, you might have seen some new awnings. That was thanks to a grant program started from On Hand back in 2002. We do a grant for up to $1,500 per recovering of those awnings. So Sahara's, Clothes Garden, Polly Shoe Store, Han County Title, the Ace Annex, I think we call it, all got new coverings. So take a look at those. We also have granted 2 new sign grants to the daycare, the Han County Daycare, and 10 Mile Tavern in Ree Heights is going to be getting a new sign as well, so stay tuned for that. We have no progress on the Welcome to Miller sign coming in from the west, dealing with some complications there. Promotion, I continue to do a radio interview every Monday, articles to the Miller Press. which also we put on our Facebook page and Instagram. Public speaking since October, I can't remember if I was here, but I visited the elementary school and talked to them about spending money in our community. Our website traffic has seen an increase of 97% since this time last year. Our most popular pages are news, employment, and rental properties at this time.
What's that attributable to?
So I think it's because we are really driving traffic to our website from our social medias, but also when people search houses for sale, Miller, South Dakota, places to rent, Miller, South Dakota, we have a page that actually says places to rent.
Oh.
Businesses in Han County pulls up our page. We also have the Miller Civic and Commerce on our page as well. We have some information to the city. If the county would like to partner with us to get a link from ours to theirs, we'd be more than happy to do that also.
I think I'm seeing that pay off. There's a home very close to where I live, where somebody moved out just a couple of days ago, and the very next day it was being shown to somebody else. And I know it's been weeks and some occasionally months before anybody else comes in and looks at the property to rent, to possibly rent it. So there must be some mechanism in there that's driving them
I believe
faster
so.
than it used to be.
Yeah, we have a really good, I'm not techie, so I hate to even talk about this with the YouTube and everybody because they'll make fun of me, but we have a really good, what's that called when you have like a search engine and you can pull up anything Miller.
Yeah.
Like ours is one of the first pages, millersd.org.
Okay, but rentals must be high on the list.
Oh,
once you get
absolutely.
there.
People are looking for rental properties, so they're searching, but we have a page, say places to rent in Miller. So that helps them find that even easier.
That's, you just said, that you just added that?
I've had that for a while, but
Oh, okay.
plugging it, yep. Okay, TV, we worked with Dakota News Now on a story in December about our Christmas light show in the park, which was a success. And also in TV, Miller was chosen as one of the 2022-2023 South Dakota Public Broadcasting Dakota Life Communities. So this is very exciting, and I will get the county more involved once I know more information, but they're gonna come here and do a whole 30-minute story on our area. Not just Miller, we're gonna do some history, we're gonna do something about businesses, quality of life. It's very exciting, and we will start something in the summer. So stay tuned for that. Community Center, 2021 was our biggest year that we've ever had in the Center for Paid Events, hands down. 2020 obviously was not good, so we needed that. But we have 4 weddings booked for the summer of 2022, potentially 5. Our annual fundraiser for the community center is coming up on Friday, February 11th. We do the dueling duels, pianos, and we have tables available for that. November and December, we were really, really busy in there with Christmas parties and meetings and kids basketball, so it's been busy in there. Summers Bar, obviously, you know, we still have that property. We are asking $40,000. We have it listed through Cost Agency. We also have a liquor license that if somebody would like to buy with that would be included in that price. And we have somebody interested in viewing that property right now. Other news, Miller Day in Pierre is scheduled for Thursday, February 17th. So if anybody from the county would like to go, I would love to host that. We hosted Shop Small Saturday, and it was a very busy day around town. If you talk to any of the business owners, as well as most of November and December. Career Here was another huge success. We had over 300 students attend, and we had 4 Han County businesses attend as well. November, we completed our strategic planning session. And if you have questions about that, I'd be more than happy to review what some of our plans are for next year and the years to come. One of the things that we did talk about that you all might be interested in is we talked about changing our mission statement. And the reason that is we haven't touched our mission statement in 34 years. And economic development has changed a lot in 34 years, as well as our community and our partners. So our current mission statement is the mission of On Hand is to maintain and assist in the expansion of existing businesses and support the growth of new businesses while striving to improve the economy of the Miller area. Everything we do revolves around this mission. Every project that I get put on my desk, I have to make sure it's fulfilling this mission. So it's important that the wording is accurate in what we're doing. So stay tuned for maybe a fresh spin on our mission statement that I think you will like. In January, Pipestone Farms welcomed On Hand with a ribbon cutting ceremony and a tour of their facility. Myself, Joe Zeller, and Megan attended that. And then in January, we welcomed not only Jim, but Tim Bodie from American Bank and Trust to fill our finance seat. So we have all 11 board members' spots filled. And again, these are all non-paid volunteer members of our community that I really appreciate working with.
Quick question.
Yes.
If somebody's interested in a governor's house, do they come to On Hand?
They can come to me, absolutely.
Is there
So I
someplace
can-
else that they should go?
Well, I would be a great resource. So we're willing to show people the process, work with them. If they have a lot picked out and everything else and they qualify, we might be able to work with them to buy it and then sell it. But what we'd like to do is just work with them through the process. And it is a process.
Okay.
Because we've bought and sold 2 of them, I already kind of know. So yes.
Are there any of them located in rural areas of Han County, or are they only municipalities?
There are some.
Are there a few out there?
I guess I
There's
don't know.
no restriction that they
No.
can only be placed in a municipality?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
The restrictions are income based.
yeah,
Yep, they can be placed anywhere. There is a pretty large weight on those right now because of the housing demand. It's not gonna be as speedy as it once was.
they all still come out of Springfield?
But yes, they should come talk to me. But yeah, farms, whoever,
Okay.
just like all of our other programs, it doesn't have to be in city limits. Other questions? It's way too easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
We
Keisha,
appreciate
for
you.
coming.
Yep, see you guys.
Who'd you say that to?
Hi.
John, you got one.
Good luck.
Good luck.
John, can you hear me?
Can't hear you, John.
John?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving to the next part of our agenda. John Dunlop is with us from South Dakota Game Fish Parks, and he is via Zoom or whatever you got on there.
Zoom.
So
Yeah,
go ahead, John.
so going back to range or whatever, we talked about potentially buying that or whatever. Game and Fish would like to go, and be willing to lease it instead of sell it.
Are you hearing him?
Pardon?
You're understanding that?
The Game and Fish wants to know if we
Get a little
will
closer to
lease,
your microphone, John.
if we will lease that property instead of selling.
Much closer.
A
You're,
little closer, John.
oh, you're good.
Okay, say that part about the lease again.
So Game and Fish would like to know if you guys would rather lease that land rather than sell it. The reason is because Game and Fish is really kind of leery about taking over that type of land.
The stuff under it,
Yeah.
as you suspicioned last month. But they're willing to do a long-term lease on it.
Would,
Right.
Potentially.
I mean, anything over, so I think they said the life expectancy of a range is like 30 years or something like that. Obviously, if it's upkept and everything else, a range will just do the same thing as everything else, it'll last a lot longer. But as far as, and I talked to Greg about this yesterday, he called me. Game and Fish operates, for the wildlife division, we operate on federal grants and license dollars. So if you buy a hunting license, we get $2 for every dollar we sell off of what's called PR funding or Pittman Robertson Net funding, which was established, I think, in 1934 or something like that. Anytime anything is hunting or camping related, there is a manufacturer's tax on there for anything from a single 22 round up to a tent, a camper, things like that. That all goes into PR funding. And what it is it was passed by legislation, like federal legislation saying that users should support what they're using essentially. me in the outdoors. So with that they're kind of leery about putting PR funds, buying the PR funds. Now, the other thing is, the other hurdle we have to overcome to continue with this is there would have to be an environmental impact review study done. When I talked to a lady by the name of Anna, she's the one who would help get all the funding for it. Out of Deere, that is a requirement because we are using PR dollars to build it. So that would be done by a third-party company. He said they're kind of expensive. So that's gonna be the other big hurdle to jump. Because if we're using PR funds, as an environmental impact study, and with it being a dump ground, it might not.
Does the state,
We have multiple levels talking about all of this in an email right now. So like myself, and Corey, and our boss, and then Region 2 supervisor, which is the river region. I think Director Krisherman was involved in that email, and then the people that are doing the funding, the grant funding, how they would write the grants and all that. They're all involved in that, but they kind of would like to know a couple of those things before we continue.
John?
Who's gonna pay for the environmental study?
Game and Fish would pay for it.
Okay.
I think there are some legal considerations that the commission needs to take into account in determining whether or not it is in the cards to do anything other than an outright sale. There are potential liabilities attached to a long-term lease for the county and potential liabilities involved in a straight-out sale. That I don't think we're prepared to discuss here publicly, but I think we should discuss them with the state's attorney and receive some guidance from his office on these questions.
Yep, and then also, I talked to Greg about that a little bit yesterday as well. With some of those liabilities, it's just like when I came to talk to you guys about possibly leasing hunting rights off of that quarter section down there by Wall Lake from you guys. If you guys were to put it in a public recreational use, you guys are no longer liable by state law for accidents that would occur out there. So if somebody were to get shot, somebody break a leg, somebody stole a toe, it doesn't matter. There's already state laws in place to relieve the owner of that land from liability.
Well, thank you, but we need to talk to the state's attorney and find the chapter and verse on all that stuff.
Yeah, and I thought I gave you guys those, when I gave a talk to you last fall or whatever too. I thought I had printed those off. If not, I can always find them again and give them to you guys if you need help.
Well, it's not only statutory, it's also court decisions that go into those questions ultimately. So we'd still need to talk to the state's attorney about it.
Yep, that's fine.
we have discussion? I guess my personal feelings are is if it's okayed by our state's attorney,
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't come up with some kind of a solution there. I wouldn't
Me
think,
neither. I'm all
in
for
my
it.
opinion.
Yeah.
We just need to do our due diligence and check into it, I guess.
Yeah.
The county,
Right, yep, no, that's fine, I understand that. But yeah, they just, like I said, they wanted me to talk to you guys about, well, leasing it. It could be when I say long term, like I said, I think they said the life expectancy of the range is 30 years. Something like that. But however long you guys would do the lease or whatever, as long as it covers the entirety of their life of the range, essentially.
Okay,
I think liability of a shooting range should be priority consideration for the county. If we, I certainly don't think that we should have any kind of a liability involved with that shooting range, because
Well, there are potential liabilities that would extend beyond the term of the lease. It's that type of facility too.
You know,
Lead.
For it's, yes, it's having been used.
So I mean, it's
well,
something that needs to be, if they're gonna lease it, the lease runs out. We're stuck with anything, any contamination that would be there, we'd be stuck with it. So
We're gonna-
that also may determine whether you wanna do it or not.
gonna have to lean on Elton pretty heavily on this
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's no way we can make a decision at all right now.
I think in principle, we're all tied to the proposition that we'd sure like to do business with you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yep, I
We
agree.
just need to figure out the best way to go forward.
Right.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, just, you guys can reach out to me or if you need me to talk to Doug, I'll put it on the agenda if you guys come down.
Okay,
Sounds good, John. Thank you.
thanks.
All
Yep.
right, thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
So we're sure no one from the finance committee's coming?
I'm pretty sure.
Two is a public hearing and wait. You wanna talk about your poll book or do you wanna?
No, that comes afterwards, because he's coming over.
How about the rebel site?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, there's
mobile
time.
site. Ty's here, Ty.
We're just going down the list.
Good luck, Ty.
Great secretary for him.
Whatever happened, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm just next to that.
Oh, okay.
This, this discussion about the rubble site, I put on the agenda, I got some calls. People are really confused by this winter hours and alternating days. And I've got some calls about what days is it really open? And so I said, well, put it on the agenda and discuss it. I talked with Ty a little bit about it to possibly figure out a different schedule for the rebel site. Did you come up with anything or any kind of a proposal for us?
Well, I think, like I said, like before it was open, it had a kind of a set schedule, but it was only 3 days and only for 2 hours at a time during the winter. And that's the way it's been for how many years? And now we're open at least 4 days a week, every week, during the winter. And from what like this last month, it's been, I've had some of the Saturdays I've been out there where I've had nobody show up. So if they want every Saturday, but yet I'm still only getting 1 or 2 people, I mean, how do you justify being out there all day on a Saturday for 2 people?
So,
And I've been accommodating with people calling and saying, hey, I got a load. And if I'm in town, I'm happy to go out there, open it up, charge them for doing it. But if I'm out of town, then I can't do it, it's just, and that's where maybe we can have, like if Ed's willing or Taylor's willing or something like that, just have like an on-call type deal for that Saturday or something.
Just in the wintertime, you mean?
Yeah.
so
Because then
what do you think maybe it's just, we need to make it more, not so much the hours that you are open, get it out there to the people better so they know when you're open?
Yeah, that too. And
I mean, 'cause
I've been
I
putting on
understand.
Facebook, and then I got a brand new sign out there with the dates and the days that, it's clearly
And maybe
marked
we-
that it says open or closed.
And maybe we should put something in the paper to let them know, because there's no sense if you're out there and nobody's coming.
Yeah.
You're out there, the flow of the people coming in and
Right.
out. And this winter has been extremely mild,
Yep.
to say the least. There's no snow,
Yep.
so people are doing more. But I mean, the rubble site, all it says in state statute is that we have to have a rubble site. It does not say that it has to be open 7 days a week,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be.
And you're not gonna see a rubble site in the state of South Dakota that's open 7 days.
And it shouldn't be open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You can, I think the hours that you got set are, to me, you're running it, you understand it. I don't.
Right.
I think it might be that the people just
Where I-
aren't so much aware of the hours that it's open, and maybe they need, and I don't know what the remedy that is, but maybe run a little something in the mailer press that says this is what it is. You got your signage out there, you got it on, would you say Facebook? It's
Yeah.
on. So, I mean, it's there for the people to find.
Can I ask a quick question? What was the nature of the problem that the people were voicing?
Just, one person complained that it was a nice Saturday, it should be open on a nice Saturday when people want to work. One person said, I couldn't find when the hours were, and that was somewhat confusing on our county website, because you gotta go to the highway department to find the rubble site. And so that was a little confusing. Another person was just plain confused about when it's really open or when it's not. They said, I can't figure out when it's actually open or not, I gotta drive out there and see if it's open.
Well, maybe.
Are we observing the hours that it says on the sign? Are we open?
Oh, yeah. It's been open every single hour.
Well, I don't know what else we can do.
Yeah.
We,
And,
I myself always took a picture of the sign.
Yeah.
I just left it on my phone because it was always like, what day was it open before? Now it's open regularly.
So
I
what you're
look
saying,
at my pictures.
But like-
what you're saying right now, it's open more than it ever was before.
oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
So I see no problem with what you're doing.
We
And,
could
you
sure
know, I
change
get,
the
I've been
website.
complaints too, where,
But-
well, it was 70 degrees that Saturday.
Well,
Well, I don't see you opening up your store because it was a nice day.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a catch
Yeah.
situation where,
and I, it's the winter months, things slow down, and contractors and that, they know when you're open.
yep,
And if they can't dump that day, and they wait till the day you're open to dump.
and
So,
like I say, I get a guy coming in and they call me up and say, hey, I got a load here, is there any chance I can get it? If I'm in town and, well, I mean, not doing anything, I'm happy to go out there. I've opened it up quite a few times.
well,
Just to
to
be
be,
helpful to those loyal people.
Yeah.
And most of the people that I've had complain about any hours or anything like that, I don't see them. I've yet to see them.
We should make sure though that the website.
Maybe-
doesn't have this
maybe make
under
it
the highway
easier.
department, because it's not under the highway. Oh, it isn't?
No, it's right on the homepage. Carolina.
Okay, where'd that info come from?
Can I just ask, what are they? We're on Facebook right now, and we're talking about, what are the hours?
Currently, it's every other Saturday. Yeah, well, that's where it's confusing with
Yeah,
people.
which
It's
one
they don't know which
what
Saturday.
Saturday and stuff like that.
So it's not like second and fourth, it's or first and third, it's every other.
It's usually like the first and third is the Saturdays I'm open, and the second and the fourth of the Saturdays I'm closed of each month. But when a month has 31 days or whatever, how that Saturday falls, you might have an extra Saturday in there or not. There'll always be 2 Saturdays.
Well, what if we just forget about that third Saturday and don't say every other, like somebody just said, first or third or second, fourth? Let's just say that. If there's a 5th one in there, it's not open. Don't say every other. 'Cause
It
nobody
can't be
can-
more than one, even if it's one a month, 1/5 Saturday on the year.
Yeah.
obviously.
It's gotta be
Yeah,
clear.
it's very seldom that it falls different, but
we
That would
just,
make
But
sense
if
to
you-
have it labeled that way, then you would have.
That would fix
You
it.
said you're open 4 days a week though, so
Yeah.
that's Saturday, Sunday, every other week, so
No,
every day you're open.
Not Sunday.
yes,
like right now, it's gonna, like tomorrow I'll have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then next week will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So guaranteed Wednesdays and Thursdays of every week, I'm open. And if it go back to the last winter hours, or the years past, it was only open 3 days a week.
back to what you just said, Ty, state those days again.
This week,
Well, from one week to the next.
so like this week I'll be open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next week will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay,
And then I'm off till the next Wednesday. It was just so I wasn't out there every Saturday was what.
Doug, does it say
During the
that for
winter.
hours? Okay. I don't know what else we can do.
we discussed when we first, put a full-time rubble site manager in place, that there would be changes in hours. It's gonna take the community a while to adjust to it.
Right.
I don't know, I guess if we
And
put an ad in the paper, that was, comment was made one time, because I always used to cut the rubble site hours out of the paper and stick them on the side of my fridge. Maybe that'll
And
help.
I was thinking of making like little, like just like little calendar things and handing them out to people that come in, for that year, the schedule for the year or whatever. Like
And if we change something, then they've got the whole
If
year's
you have to
schedule.
change something.
But if it's got my phone number on there and everything,
Yeah.
then they can call ahead. And
That
I've
might not
gotten
be a
calls,
bad
I
idea.
had calls today, you open it.
I don't know what fridge magnets cost. But maybe Ty puts his budget to have some refrigerator magnets that have on a rebel site, different numbers that they can contact to get somebody to dump a load if they're not open. And I don't think.
I have a little bit of a problem with that.
Yeah,
If you're not open and you're gonna say you're gonna open for these people, then
It's
you're
Yeah.
not really off.
You're gonna be on call all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think
You even doing what you're doing,
Yeah, I understand.
you really
I understand your point of view,
shouldn't
too.
do that
Yeah,
because,
people are gonna take advantage of it.
well, all of a sudden you're out there and, well, he was dumping, why the heck can't I dump?
The other thing is if we get refrigerator magnets or anything of a more permanent nature like that, that memorializes our hours, and then we change the hours,
Yeah, right.
we might find all kinds of crap out there next to the dump ground where you weren't open. Well, because we changed our hours. Well, my magnet says you.
That's why I got.
I think,
that's why
I would like
something
I
in
got
the
on the
paper.
door and everything,
Don't you
I got
think?
security cameras in place.
Okay.
I would
Not
like,
yet.
I would like to see, like you said, I think putting it somewhere would be all right, but I like Jim's idea about if we can, whatever you're on now for a schedule, but make it the first and third
Yeah.
Saturdays or the second and fourth, whatever it is. Cause then people, that gets them, it helps people remember it. Cause if you say every other, no one knows what one you are open unless you're there all the time.
Right.
So if you say first and third or whatever it is, then it just hopefully will sink in for people.
And if there's an occasional 5th or 6th Saturday in a month, just ignore
Yeah,
We never
it's
have,
gonna be rare.
we never have a situation where we're closed for 7 days. One person, called me and says, well, yeah, but when he switches from one week to the other, then he's closed for 7 days. I said, no, it wouldn't be closed for 7 days.
It is closed for 5 days,
Yeah.
but not 7.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, it's guaranteed, like during the winter months, like this week here, it's gonna be my long week, because I'm gonna work 8 days out of 9. This week, this and next week.
You guys, Jan and I were just talking briefly. In the newspaper, you said those blocks where you have different businesses that just have a small little section. Can you,
It's a service directory ad.
Yeah, on the one ad page.
Right, and it goes in the county extra and in the Miller Press. County extra gets 1,800, Miller Press 1,300. And it's like a 2-column wide, is 3.5 inches by 2 inches tall, so kind of like a business card size, if you will. It's $28 a week, it's 13-week minimum.
28 a week?
28 a week.
There's some weeks I don't have 28 hours on.
And you can do it small.
So I wanna save the county as much as we do as possible.
It's
Without doing all
$7
that
a
stuff.
college, during the session.
but what I was thinking there, because it runs every 13 weeks, is the seasons change. but
Right.
Yeah,
If you
the
wanna do a
13
clip
weeks
and
during
save.
the winter or whatever, but.
What would a box ad cost?
The 2x3s that we do, small set I do is $72.50 a week. And that we can put a little clip and save, a little thing around it and stuff.
Why don't we run that in the late fall when it changes, and then in the spring when it changes, run that little clip ad and twice a year.
Just go with it, with this.
You set your hours for that, set your hours for that
Months to go
season.
here.
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything.
Don't mess around.
So-
But we should look and make sure everything's where people can find it. I
Well,
just think
It is, he brought it up.
Right, and I'll show you, if you just go to,
Oh.
whether it's Bing or Google, and you type in Kent County Rubble Site, right there, your county rubble site.
You don't have to go to the Han County website to get to the rebel site.
Yeah, I was confused when you said that, Jim, because when I made this page, we pulled it out of the highway department.
Yes, it's no longer part of it.
And then the Facebook page,
I just took down the $1 for this month. I gotta put up new ones.
the last one's there's the one I did in December, which says this on it. So
Who
if you
has-
did one, it might not have stuck.
Who has access to editing rights on that page?
On this one?
Yeah.
He and I. I created it, and
Yeah.
turned it over to him.
Okay.
I don't know what else you could do.
I mean, I've had some people mentioning it too, but I agree, if you're having no one or one or two people at the most, you know, is that
And
really
it's
worth?
those, you know, one or two that, I mean, they come up with a pickup load and that's it, it's $5.
Yeah.
It's like, so, and they come out once a year. So I'm like.
Yeah.
I mean, for your $5, you're gonna complain about, I mean, which, I mean, everybody's got, you know, got their own opinion about it. It's nice to hear, but
As I'm reading this says weeks 1 and 3, not every other. So that doesn't even address the 5th week possibility. So this is 1 and 3,
What's
2 and 4, 1 and 3. So it's not every other. I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
quote it correctly when I write my article, so
Right.
I don't mess people up, so.
Well, like I said, we did discuss that there would be some adjustment and confusion, and if these calls that we're getting are part of that adjustment, then people will eventually, like Greg says, take a picture of the sign. Jan, if that could by chance make it into your commission report that you can actually Google Han County Rebel site and pull it right up.
Sure can.
Thank you.
Good idea.
We,
And maybe when the changes come next in the summer, we can run a little clip ad thing and say, time's good from
yeah,
now until
twice,
whatever it is.
it's a twice a year, $72 ad. It's not a big,
yeah.
bunch of money, so. You think we're okay where we're at then if we just, try to get a little more,
Get more
publicity
advertising out there
of
maybe, and
people?
maybe I talked to Keisha and have it put up on her website,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, she probably, I mean, she
And
probably
that
would.
would- yeah.
If you wanna do that, that would be another good thing. Like I
Tell
said, we
everyone
already,
on the way out.
Yeah, you can get it back.
Yeah,
all right, well, that should cover that for us, I think. Everybody agree?
Yep.
And then like with, John, with that gun range, you know, being out there. You know, I don't know if he was planning on leasing all 10 acres of the old site or what, but I think the plan was to just have the new acreage be just a whole site. You know, nothing else, no trees, no tires, no rubble, or nothing else over there. That'd stay at the old site. But I mean, I'd only need, you know, a certain amount of acres for that.
Mhm.
yeah, those are all things that we're
Yeah, we're just in the very
early stages.
early stages of this, and that was one question I brought up. Were we done with that site? And according to you, maybe we're not done. Maybe we want it, because the last plan we had, it was kind of taking the whole thing.
Well, he had blocked off some, but not all of that area with his projections, you know, and I know we talked about leaving, there's been a lot of discussions, but
But I mean, we're just,
Yeah, I was thinking,
we're
you
just
know,
getting started.
compost
Yeah,
area.
but I was thinking if we were to do it on your own or whatever, just extend the berm. You know, instead of having just a pistol range, it'd be a 200-yard rifle range. And that's it. I mean, but you'd just be extending the berm. So I'd talk to him and see what he had, I didn't know what his plans were for the whole thing or not.
a long ways to go on that yet.
Yeah, we're Just getting started.
So. You have anything else for us, Ty? Or anything else going on right out there? Anything,
Yeah.
Well, good.
are people learning what they
What
can and can't
they
bring?
can, yeah, most
Most of them?
of them. Some people try to sneak some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Stuff, and that's like, the big thing was like the trees, you know, they try to, well, I had one Aesop's had come or whatever, but they wanted to put a tree or, something else in the tree pile. I'm like, well, that can't go. But, yeah, that's all right.
They're figuring it out.
Well, it's just like anything. Once they get somebody there and says this is what's going to be, people will figure it out.
Okay.
Okay,
Anything else for me?
Nope.
Thanks, sir.
thanks, Ty.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys, yeah, I was just gonna say, you wanna take a really quick break?
Sure.
Before we start back at 2. But here.
That's in 4 minutes.
This is good, right? Oh, the minutes, I can take that.
Oh, yeah.
We need to get this rise off inventory for approval of the garbage.
Let's just announce your issue for house.
Over there.
You can do that.
I didn't know if they.
Well, you can, I'm okay with that.
So, it's not.
See ya. Yeah, I'm not sure. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. Go get a look at our pickup.
Yeah, well, has it been good so far, hopefully?
Yeah. Drove a lot, but well, sure seen you.
I honestly don't know. Usually if the light is off.
Looks like the lights on. Hello, everybody.
It's on.
We're venture to that end. For that exact reason.
Public meeting, 3 minutes. Public hearing, you should say.
Long night, long day.
I haven't figured out how to sleep yet, because last night I pulled my neck out while I was
Oh,
3:30 in the morning, sound asleep, all of a sudden, yikes.
COVID,
Pardon me?
COVID.
No, I already had that twice, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I had it once, Mike's had it twice. Second time, I didn't get it. Laura got it, Benson got it, Mike got it, Jen didn't get it,
Yeah.
and Jen didn't test it to make sure she really didn't have it. I didn't have it.
Weird stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I told this because I was sick from May until really about 2 weeks before they got sick, I started getting well. And I said, you know, this is why I'm here. I put in my time. I had been in. My mom,
Is that
the shots got her.
right?
Yeah, and she got COVID and all of that. It
Yeah,
was a struggle, but she got it. Shots, much.
it's rough.
She's coming around. She, one of the big things is which March and has a problem. We don't absorb all vitamin D. And make sure they spend this sitting in the sun in Arizona. Watch those items. Down next door. Fishing. He's a fish on their chips.
What?
Chickens.
There's a breakdown.
I forgot about announcing that position. Back up.
I feel like I'm sitting on a coffee can.
There's one other son. Something like 6.
Okay, one more.
I'd like to visit him.
Okay, try this really switch.
That's what I'm on.
Okay.
You know, I'm
Groceries
one more
and
time.
stuff, so much of it. We got
So in other
him
words,
some-
to use this chair, you have to kind
It's
of be an
amazing
acrobat.
something. I'll go visit him.
Okay, I'm going to-
Some repair work.
You trying to raise it?
If for too long, I'll end up in the VSO. Yeah, I think it just,
It's giving up.
What is that magic wand on the bottom?
well, what's that, why can't it have a lever like it is?
I think we gotta turn the fire off to release.
What?
I think that. It's crazy.
Isn't that just the lumbar? Or whatever goes under your
It
butt?
needs to be that we can shut it,
Well, maybe that's all it is.
like right.
Yeah, it didn't.
We're adjourned.
You get it fixed?
I think that's the first time we've had a breakdown during the commissioners meeting.
I thought they were working on Greg's chair. I was gonna think it was sabotaged.
Oh, Lord.
Well, my kids are going to winter tonight for basketball. Long one.
That's good coffee. Let's change brand.
Okay,
You ready for me?
are you ready?
I am.
You get me going. 2:00.
Okay,
It's our public hearing.
I will be your proponent on this particular topic. What I'm asking you to consider is reducing the number of precincts we have from 12 to 5. So presently, well, I can't name them all, but there used to be a precinct like at the Holden Hall North St. Lawrence. There used to be one at Russell Testerman's house, the Bates Township Hall. So over the years, it's just continually shrunk to now there were 8 polling places. There were still 12 precincts, but 8 polling places. So some of those precincts were combined. So like, what would be a good example? 4 and 6, for example, were combined, they voted in St. Lawrence. So that was the Holden Hall originally, in St. Lawrence, we brought together, put them on polling places. So what this seeks to do is to continue that trend by going from 8 polling places to 5. And so my justification for that is largely based on cost. Pull that up. So within a previous resolution, which took place when we went through redistricting, and so each of the 5 county commission districts had to change. What I envisioned is that we would have a precinct for each of those commissioner districts. So instead of having 8, where there might be some intertwining of commissioner districts, each district would have its own precinct and thus its own polling place.
And there is a polling place that's appropriate within each of those 5 districts.
Yep, and so what I wrote into this resolution, should you find it acceptable, is, for example, Commissioner District 1, which is currently Gibb Rogers. It lists all of the townships within his district, and then it says that they would continue to vote at the present polling place, which is Doug Schultz's house at Valen. So that would be Commissioner District 1, Precinct 1, polling place 1. They all coincide with each other. District 2, which is currently occupied by Jim Jones, contains the area east of the main street that loses just a very little bit of the outside of town. So that would be Commissioner District 2, which would also be Precinct 2, which would also be polling place 2. Number 3, which is presently occupied by Greg Palmer, is Commissioner District 3. It would be Precinct 3, And then we can combine the polling place with two, because Keisha has offered to let us use the community center, which can accommodate both of them. It's handicap accessible, has the restrooms that are necessary.
Do you need just one board then?
Actually, in that one, we would have separate boards to avoid voter confusion.
Okay.
And then the next one would be Commissioner District 4, which is currently occupied by Jim Eschenbaum. That would be Precincts 4, and there would be Polling Place 4, which would continue to be Sunshine Bible Academy. And then Commissioner District 5, which is currently occupied by Luke Wordsman, would be Commissioner District 5, Precincts 5, and Polling Place 5. So they would all line up with each other. And because redistricting only takes every 10 years, theoretically, you wouldn't have to touch this again for another 10 years. The only time that you would have touched this is if you decided to go as at-large commissioners, and then the commissioner districts would disappear, and then you just deal with polling places. Or, as was mentioned by another of the commissioners, who said, well, why don't we just beat to the chase and do one? And I think either he or somebody else referenced Highmore, but Highmore has 2 polling places. And so my personal thing on that is I don't advocate that, because if you live in that far corner, that far corner, that far corner, that far corner, to drive to Miller to vote might be a discouraging adventure. You may just choose not to participate. With this, it's based on your districts, which are done based on population. Each of you would have like 629, I think the number was. So it represents a similar group, number of people in each district. And geographically, you each have it's a small enough area that people would probably be willing to travel.
Which of the 5 districts is spread out the furthest east, west, and north, south?
Luke has the greatest number of territories in District 5.
And is the Polo Gym central to that?
It's pretty close. If we wanted it to be really close, Lake Louise would be a good spot, but there's issues there with handicap accessibility because of the gravel approaches, and the restrooms were designed for workers, not guests.
Yeah, you have a pretty big area. If anyone would have some concerns, I'm guessing
It's gonna be
it's
there.
gonna be your people probably, because obviously like, it's people that live in town already. I mean, you're not,
Right.
it's not
Yeah,
gonna
they'll always
affect them
be
at all.
back to you.
Jim and I probably, I guess for the most part, I mean.
Do you need a motion to approve that then?
Well, I have one other thing that it's part of this hearing as your proponent. What I'm advocating that you consider is that this isn't just an effort to streamline the process of where people go. There is a savings financially because of this. So for example, the day before an election, this past one, Arlen and I spent the entire day. We go to each of the 8 polls, set up an entire poll. Election day, we staffed that with 3 people minimum. Last year, 2 years ago, we had a custodian because of COVID. So we pay those people. So the losers in this are the people that have been voting in Zell. That's a really small number of people, and I don't want to diminish the importance of that really small number. But it's hard to justify the expense because, quite frankly, a lot of them voted absentee.
Yeah.
And so the actual number of people that came up to vote in person is even small.
Doug, what percentage of the vote that was cast in Han County at the last election was cast absentee?
51%.
It's more than half.
Yep.
What are the savings in the machines and so forth?
I would return some of these voting machines out here that are designed for people with vision and hearing. We pay roughly $400 a year for a service contract on those, even during non-election years. And it bugs me because they don't get touched, but they have to be serviced because there's always the assumption that there might be a recall election, there could be a referendum election, so they always have to be in tip-top shape. We have 2 counters that would not change. The amount of supplies that we would buy for each precinct would drop by 3 precincts because we would not have Zell, we would not have St. Lawrence, and we would not have Reed Heights. Reed Heights, the auditorium there is not handicap accessible, and I've not seen any effort to bring it into compliance. The stairs that lead down into the gymnasium are the obstacle into the sidewalk out front and to the sidewalk. So unless they did something pretty dramatic, the only other location there that would probably be suitable would be the bar. But I'm guessing they probably won't lose the revenue of one whole day, actually 3 days, because the equipment goes one day, built the next, tear it down the next.
We have provisional ballot capability at all of these precincts.
Yep,
How many provisional ballots were cast in the last election?
0.
Okay, that's what I thought. Somebody can't just wander into one of these precincts and say, well, I'm from blah, blah, blah area. But my name isn't on there yet. But
They can, but what the election workers do then is they look at their list.
Yeah.
And they say, well, Jane's not on my list, so then they call us.
Okay,
We look at the master list and say, no, Jane should be voting in poll.
okay.
And so then she can contest that and file a provisional ballot. But most of the time, they're like, oh crap, I forgot to change it, so then they go to poll and vote.
Do you know in the past if we've had a lot of provisional cast?
Well, we've been
ballots?
going through the records to dispose of them, and I haven't seen maybe 2.
Oh, wow. There are areas of the country where it's
The most
rife
common,
with those kinds of ballots.
right, the most common place that you would see that, if it went to be contested, is right here in town. When people were trying to figure out if they were 11 or 12,
Yeah.
12 or 11. But that's why having the community center would solve that, because instead of going across town,
Just go over there.
right, just across the gymnasium. So I do expect that we'll see a financial savings as a result of this.
Good. It should be at least $1,200, shouldn't it? Just with those machines.
Yes.
A year.
And what I'm
Well,
hoping
and then you
is,
got the whole.
Plus all the labor
also
savings.
all the labor savings there.
right, and then the simplicity for the voter. There was a discussion about voter confusion, and it doesn't pertain just to what candidate they want to pick. It is the process itself. So you have new voters, and then you have aging voters who often say during exit questions that they have voter confusion. One, they may not know the people who were working there. So it's always important to try and keep your precinct workers somebody that's familiar to the community, so there's that recognition. Obviously, in a large community, that would be a lot tougher, but in a small community like ours, you know, it's pretty easy to say, yeah, I know who that is.
If we didn't have that Zell polling place anymore, what level of hardship would be imposed upon the people who were voting there? Would they be forced to drive further than people that are presently driving within their district to vote at their,
Some of them would vote in Bayland, and the others would vote in Poland.
okay, is that further than others travel?
No. I would say
I mean, others from other areas that have to go a long ways.
the people who live in Midland
Yeah,
and Alpha Township here, their normal voting place is Poland. And that's the ones we hear from the most.
that's a ways,
Because they're a mile from a polling place here,
yeah.
but they have to drive to Poland to vote. And so that's why this young man just showed up. He's gonna talk to you about the poll pads and centralizing the poll work. But that's where I hear the most complaints. I don't hear it from a rural community so much.
Well, I would move that we pass that resolution as presented, resolution 22-1.
I would suggest that the chairman call for any opponent testimony.
Is there any opponents?
Can we put me down? I'm a mile from mine, I have to drive 7 miles now to get it. Just for, have something like that.
It's true. I would
It's
say
true.
it's an adverse impact.
Yeah, it's gonna adversely affect people for sure, so,
Well, I drive 8 miles.
Well, you can always vote absentee.
Yeah.
right.
Or if you like the idea of the next presenter.
Doug, make clear again, how long is the period of time before the election that you can start voting?
45 days.
45 days before. So I guess people have plenty of time to get in that absentee vote.
Is that a state or a federal statute that says 45 days? Or is it federal every
You know,
4
I don't
years?
read a lot of federal election code, so
It must be
I'm
state.
gonna say state.
And state must be in line with federal because there's a presidential and
Have to
federal
be.
election.
Have to be compliant.
Okay.
Okay, Jim, you wanna read?
Remake it. I move that we pass resolution 2022-01, establish new boundaries for each of the county's 5 districts.
08, I think. 08,
08,
2208.
2208.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim. Is there a second?
No, I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, on that one, that's another one, we have to record the ayes and the nays.
Yes.
So the next presenter, let's get back to the agenda here. I saw this demonstration when we had our election school last fall, and I'd seen it 2 years prior, and I really didn't give it much thought, but after seeing some comments from other auditors, I thought there was some validity in this product, because it relates to what I'm gonna call centralizing your poll book. So instead of each particular precinct, of which now there will be 5, the voter can go to any of the precincts. So Jan's adverse impact of driving 6 miles would be remedied by the fact that she could vote, if this is an item that you're interested in, at any of the polls she happens to be traveling by. So with that, you want to come up and introduce yourself, tell them what you're about.
Grab my little green case.
Yeah, how it all works. Thanks, sir.
Words like me.
Right up here, please.
And for the benefit of our newspaper, would you tell her who you are? or-
Yeah, I'm Dustin Van Dalen with Awnings. That's how it's spelled right there. Van Balen's VanBalen. With a space, like Van Halen, but with a B. I wish it was Van Halen. Are you gentlemen today? So you guys, so you have passed resolution for vote centers, is that the?
No,
Okay,
we're just going to 5 precincts.
5 precincts, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so precinct based now is different than vote center. So precinct based, you would still have to vote at your precinct. Vote center is so that's the difference between this. Precinct based, even though you have a different precinct, that person still has something on their record from total vote that says you have to vote in that precinct.
Right.
So,
But if they choose to go with this,
no, precinct.
You can't go to a.
You have to be vote center to
Right.
go vote
so
anywhere
if
you
they
want.
like this, then we would transition.
Yep. If you guys like this, then and so there's counties around you guys. Hyde Potter solely, I think, and Hughes, Brown County, Yankton, they use vote centers. They switched to vote centers, I think, 8 to 10 years ago. I can't remember for sure. They use poll pads for that scenario. Poll pads are most of them have switched to these. They use them as a way of, like you said, somebody is in the rural counties especially, needs to go to a certain spot, they can go anywhere in the world, and that's what makes it nice. Now, we also can track if you go to one location and you decide to test the system, by the time you get to the other location, we'll know that you voted. Because these are actually also live, so they're talking to each other back and forth. So if you go to Polo, you say what's another location? Well, here, example, by the time you get to Miller, I mean, a lot sooner than that, but by the time you get here, we would know that you voted on here. So if you tried to test the system, go to a different precinct, and try to go to the vote center at that point, it would already say that you voted.
We just had talked about 2 precincts, all gonna be in one building, one room apart. How fast is your?
If you're that close, it's immediate. Yeah. And if you're, how you would set it, from how I've set them up in the past with vote centers, there's no difference in precinct. That's a vote center, that's a vote center, that's a vote center, that's one, and that's one. If you have 5, all the ballots are at each location.
Go wherever you want.
And you can go wherever you want.
Is the premise for this thing voter convenience, or is it to avoid election fraud, or is it some both?
Yes, sir. So the election.
Do we have a problem with election fraud in Hant County?
We did last election, we had one. But Jim Aschenbaum and I were talking about specific individuals who theoretically could be put on faster. People who
With this
register
system?
here but don't live here
Okay, with this system or with our present system?
without that.
So without this, yeah, so your present system uses paper poll books, correct?
Yep.
So a paper poll book is not auditable. So literally, if you were a poll worker, for example, you wrote down somebody's name in that poll book, you decided that you messed up and you needed to move that down the line, and you put them in the wrong location, or you marked the wrong person, or they signed in the wrong area, that's not auditable. They can erase that, just put in a pencil, if I'm not mistaken. These, you click a button, it tells me what you did. So if you were to say, hey, well, we had a voter collision where somebody voted twice, which shouldn't happen, but if they try, it will alert them to, hey, this person's already voted. So as an example, if you were a Smith and you came to my location, it'd already say that you're Anthony Smith, you've already voted, you can't vote anymore. So what that does, it puts them up there so that they cannot vote again.
What if the person who's sitting behind the desk and is responsible for registering the fact that they've already voted wants to cheat along with them?
They can't. Only him and me or the support person that'd be in here would be able to remove that vote. There's no, once they've been voted, I mean, you could vote somebody incorrectly. You could say that it was Anthony Smith Jr. and Anthony Smith Sr. You could click on the wrong one and vote them.
So there's room for human error here.
Yes, there
just as there is in the way we're doing it.
As paper, yeah. There is for this, but you're actually looking at driver's licenses. Now, the thing that prevents that, I don't have it set up here. We have a scanner that scans the ID. So you hand them your driver's license, it scans the ID for them, and it will bring that person up right off the cuff. So 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they're not even searching for the person. They're just scanning the back of their ID. Yeah, I mean, it would use that barcode on the back. I have a generic one in here. Let me just see.
You can move that vote.
On that topic, the poll worker scans your ID, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep, so the poll worker would get, they have this is actually on the back of the poll book here. And, so when they're sitting there at their desk, they have these two options, either scan the barcode or manual entry. Manual entry is very rarely used unless you can't find the person based off of their, scanning their ID. That's driver's licensing, which we do know that driver's licensing does have some of their issues sometimes. So all I would do is I would hit scan barcode. If I was a poll worker, I would put the driver's license in here. It scans the barcode and it brings that person up for me. So it says that this person's already marked as voted. Nothing else I can do. I can tell them, hey, you can't vote here. You've already voted. Da 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 da. That's it. So now let's say that, let me find another one here. Let's do a regular one. Let's see if that one works. If they come in, they're just a regular, most, like I said, 95% of the time, 99% of the time, it's going to find this person based off of their barcode. So here would be a normal voter. They bring Anthony, I don't know if you guys can see that very well. It brings that up like that. All they have to do is they accept that. They verify the information. They hit submit. Now I don't have my printer hooked up. When it does print the printer or it prints out a label. They hand that label in. They take that label to the ballot clerk. Ballot clerk hands them their ballot.
Are you required under South Dakota law to carry a South Dakota ID? If not, a driver's license, at least an identification?
If you have to, yeah. So for
you
these,
are or you aren't?
I don't remember. I don't know for sure.
What's your question, Jim?
Do you have to have a South Dakota state government issued ID to vote?
Yes. The alternative is if you don't have one, you have to do an affidavit.
And then you vote provisional at that point.
Yeah.
That's when you call for a provisional ballot. Otherwise, there's no need for them.
Right.
There is provisional ballot when if somebody has voted absentee, for example, and they come in and they pound their hand on the table saying that they absolutely have not sent in their absentee, even though it's marked in here that they sent in the absentee, we have it. Doug has it in his office. You can go through and mark that person as, hey, they chose that they want to vote absent or they want to vote a provisional. It will let them go through and do that. But as you know right off the bat, that's already a form of, you'll get those people that are 95, really old people that sometimes do forget that they voted.
Every single person in Han County who is registered to vote has a state issued ID in Han County, South Dakota.
Not necessarily,
Well, there
but,
was only one provisional ballot.
but usually if they come in to register to vote, I know if they have an ID, because I have to look at it. But,
Yeah,
let's
so,
say they get their license suspended or revoked or whatever. If they have a state issued temporary license or a state issued temporary ID, a school ID.
yeah,
No
so
barcode.
the types of IDs that they can use, so I had to do a manual lookup. If they don't have a driver's license or the non-driver ID, you can actually use a US passport, another government issued ID, a travel photo ID, a South Dakota school ID, or the ID affidavit, which then will lead them to the, going into the provisional at that point. Because they're actually saying, I'm jogging by, I want to vote, I forgot my ID, I'm filling out an affidavit letting you know who I am, but I'm still going to be vote provisional at that point.
And then it's my responsibility to look at that affidavit to determine if that ballot should be cast. And if they lie, then I take it to the state attorney's office.
Which has happened.
I know somebody who was a poll watcher about 15 years ago in South Dakota, in a particular location, which I'm not going to disclose, where there was absolute wholesale fraud going on from the moment the polls opened until they closed.
Yes,
All day.
I think I might know that story.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ballots were cast illegally.
Were they delivered to the polling buses?
Yeah,
I know that story.
along with a free meal
Yes,
and maybe a swig of whiskey
back cigarettes.
or more. Yeah.
Just to clarify, this
We're
is
gonna have to go
about
way over there to
voter
get plugged
registration. It's not gonna count impact.
No,
So this is just about who's
There should be a
actually
plug
able
over
to
there.
vote.
he's got a long extension for you.
Right.
This has nothing to do with the
You guys
ballot.
will plug in your, let's sit here,
So our
gentlemen.
ballots aren't gonna be online, just the voter registration, which is gonna help us streamline those who can vote, where you can vote, and that we're not having a double voting situation.
But if we don't have a problem, why are we addressing a non-existent problem?
Well, actually,
With this, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it is kind of.
Because
a problem.
if we transition to the vote centers, then Jan's problem with travel is alleviated. She can simply go vote while she's working and go back to work.
Right, and I actually was talking to Jamie Lammers, Jamie works for me. She lives clear by Polo, she has to vote in Polo. But she came to work that day. So she's in town. And she didn't get home because there's a ball game. She didn't go to the ball game, she didn't have to get home to vote.
But why wouldn't you just pick up an absentee ballot so you wouldn't have to make that trip on election day?
I wouldn't, I don't.
You
Well,
know,
there's some
I'm
people
not
that
going
don't
to,
trust that
that's-
process.
Huh?
You know, and I'll give you a really good example of this. In Sioux Falls, for example, my dad's a doctor, Sioux Falls. He gets up in the morning and he wants to go vote. In the school election in Sioux Falls, they use these poll books. You can go to any of the 12 or 13 vote centers and vote and do your thing
With this.
with one of these. Now, the same school election, or I'm sorry, the elections that aren't school, they don't use these in Sioux Falls. Now, my dad went to the same spot that he voted with one of these, and they said, you can't vote here, you gotta go to your precinct. And then they had a paper poll book, right? Paper poll book. Paper poll book, they said, we don't know where you vote. Hang on, we gotta call the auditor's office. So they called the auditor's office, and my dad has to be to work by 7:30, okay? He showed up at 7 to vote. He said, don't worry about it, I'm not voting, boom, gone. So, I mean, you lost one vote, but how many of those people are you gonna lose
Well, legally
in that?
in the United States, he can't, he's got 2 hours to vote from your job.
Yeah, you do, but
Well, how
he's
would
one of
people
those
do that?
If you're
people that he doesn't,
self-employed,
yeah.
you don't.
What?
If you're self-employed, you don't.
No, and he's not, but he's one of those people that is very impatient. He has to get to the office at 7:30. He's at the office till past 7 o'clock at night. You know, it shows when you're gonna get, some of the counties around you guys, to the ones north, I guess, that have used these. We have another county that, they have a vote center out by the river. It actually sits in the middle of a cornfield. And the first time we used it, 5 people showed up at that vote center to vote. It was almost shut down. We said, let's try one more time. and steadily increase over amount of years. I can remember they started with 5, then went 30, then went 45, then went 60. These people realized, hey, I can vote before I go in and have my coffee. I don't have to vote in town. I can vote out there, get it done, and then I can go in and meet with the boys and have coffee, do what I want to do. We're eliminating that process of them having to worry about where they have to go vote. That's the nice thing about vote centers combined with these things. So, I've been involved with precinct-based. I've been all over the country supporting these. I've seen them in precinct. I've seen vote centers. I've seen them in super vote centers. I've seen them in super precincts. I miss, when I'm in those places, I miss what we do here in South Dakota with the vote centers. Now, I do have some counties here in South Dakota that are not going to be doing these with vote centers. They're going to be doing with precincts, which is just fine. It's just that you have to go to that precinct to vote. Saying they want to use them the same exact way. The thing that we're eliminating with that is that Doug, number one, is not going to get 50, 60 calls in a day saying she showed up to vote at this precinct where she actually registered to vote. Oh, she has to go out to Polo to vote, so she was going to go into Polo before they close at 7 o'clock. But they didn't know that because it's not on the paper. It does not say where the precinct is on that piece of paper. It does on here. If you're precinct-based, they scan it, they say, well, you got to go to Polo and vote. It would say,
So would we be purchasing, in terms of hardware, with this proposition, 8 of these?
yeah, you
Or
have.
5 of these, I
Five
mean?
of them.
I go, okay, and that's something Doug and I were talking about. With vote centers, you want to make sure that you have enough there in case you get a flood. So
you
for
got
example,
3 at a table?
I'd say
15 of these?
at least 2, I'd say at least, okay.
2?
I'd say at least 2 at a table. If not, if you have like Polo or you have a place that you know is going to get 30 voters, but you never know. That's the problem. If you have all these people that are out there that day, out by that vote center, you could get 60, 80 people at that vote center. If you don't have enough people covering, you have one poll, then you're going to start having lines. And then they're going to start saying, well, you have lines because you have an electronic poll. So I would recommend at least having 2 at each location. If you don't want to, you can.
Is this manufactured by the company?
The software is actually made by us.
Not the
yes.
software, the hard.
No, that's an iPad.
Okay.
It's a standard iPad.
Doesn't say
Yep,
iPad.
yep, standard iPad. You guys, when you guys buy these, you guys own the iPad, obviously. You guys take over. It's the Apple Business Manager. You take control of the device, so you own it. The updates, you pay yearly for little updates that come down to it. If the software
Can you
is
buy a Chromebook and do the same thing for a lot less?
not with this one,
You can't.
not with this software.
Can we not accomplish the same thing with the provisional ballots? I mean, I don't, how many people are really gonna, the biggest confusion, now that we've gone to, 5, precincts, is gonna be these people in the southeast corner of Miller, now that are gonna have to run the sunshine. I don't know how many people that is, might be a little confusion the first election.
23 or 4 that are impacted by that.
And there was, the counties that did it, you've probably been following along with, Susan and Potter County and Hyde County. First time they did them, there was a little bit of confusion. People were like, where do I go vote? They had to put in the paper, you can vote anywhere. Basically, it was a big headline, vote wherever you want. Once people figured that out, if you take that away from them now, they will probably go up in arms. Because there are people I know now that vote in those counties that, in my county, Hughes, they use vote centers too. So people just go to wherever they want to go vote, and they're done. They don't have to guess what a precinct is anymore.
If we have 5 of these, you said they communicate with each other, is that online or by cell signal?
What I would recommend is you guys use, the hotspots, and they're private hotspots, so each location has its own private connection. They encrypt the data going up, encrypt the data going down, encrypt the data sideways, back and forth. So if you have 2, it's encrypted this way, it's encrypted up and encrypted back down. So
They do not want you to use somebody's Wi-Fi.
no,
So like at the community center, we're here, we would not use this one.
and that's a state law, I think, or a state thing too. They said if you do have these, it has to have its own private connection.
It's not secure enough over. public Wi-Fi. Or
So
even
what's-
private Wi-Fi.
What's the cost?
On each one of these is $1,385.
Each one of these,
The whole
That's with the iPad.
whole package, printer, everything, case, all that stuff, yeah.
And then we would need a hotspot.
Hotspot, now, as a government entity, you guys can do Patty in Yankton is a really good one to call about this. She actually has hotspots for each one of the locations. She fires them up for 2 months, shuts them down, and pays like $1 or $5 for each one during the off season, then turns it back on. And then during the no election years, I think they're set into a mode where she doesn't even have to pay for it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that, you can get that as a government entity. I wish I could get that as a personal entity, but I cannot.
Both Verizon and AT&T are very pro oriented.
Yeah.
And so they actually allow you to lease them, or you can do extended contracts.
And Verizon-
Basically, you just rent the puck for the election.
Verizon's really good in the Sioux Falls area. It just depends on what your best connection is going to be in all these locations.
Trying to read it at the same time.
With people having 45 days to get their vote in, like I said, this changing our precincts up might be a little confusing this first election. But with 45 days to get the vote in, I don't know how necessary this thing is.
well, I kind of think the same thing. I think we're, again, chasing with a lot of dollars, a non-existent problem. Trying to find a
How many
solution
poll
for a
workers do
problem
you
that
use per
doesn't
each
exist.
location?
3. Yep. This is, I brought him here because this is the evolution, the next step in the process to make it so that voters have access to voting. Like you said, if last election repeats itself, we're gonna have more than half of them voting on paper in advance.
Yeah.
But I guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but the way that went, the way that people think about that, I saw in another state, the general election, I saw more people vote in person than I thought would ever vote with the COVID restrictions. It was packed, and it was because
Yeah, we had
wanted to
more
vote.
in-person voters. So if we take away all of the absentees, just the in-person,
Yeah.
more than we had in an election.
Is that because they don't trust this kind of stuff? They think it's hackable? They don't think their
There's
vote
a-
is defensible?
There's
If it's
a lot
cast
of
this
fear
way?
about trusting anything.
I'm saying, is there more trust in a paper,
Oh, yes.
world ballot than there is in these kinds of things?
But the ballot is the ballot.
That's not the ballot, I know.
Yeah, that's, and you're still using electronic when you get to the ballot, because you're checking, you're just putting it through a scanning machine anyway. So you're not hand counting the ballots.
I literally had people calling who appreciated the fact that they could see their ballot being inserted into the machine. They physically were allowed to do that in 2020. And they were like, how come we haven't been able to do this in the past? Because they always just trusted that you stick it in the blue box and it somehow makes it where it's supposed to. I mean, they felt relief in knowing that poof, screen changed, clock. And I'm like, yeah, people are concerned about what happens to their ballot.
You said there was 51% absentee in 2020.
Yep.
How many prior years? Any idea?
I'd have to look.
This 2020, I mean, it's kind of an odd year.
Right.
Things happened in 2020 that hopefully never happen again,
If I remember Carolyn right, it was at least twice as many as
as
normal.
usual. So normally it's 25%.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
Yep.
It's 2020.
So to
Well, I
answer
think
your
that-
question, is it a necessity? No. It's just the next step in accommodating voters.
Doug, how soon would we have to make a decision on this for this 22 election?
For the primary today,
Pretty quick.
but I'm not so concerned about doing it for the primary. I think it's most useful places in the general, because in the primary, people come in, they split off based on their party preference. It takes a little extra for the poll worker to process that division anyways.
I think we should be open-minded about it, consider it,
Well, I would
See if
just
we can.
ask you, like,
So this
other
system here,
commissioners, ask them if
if-
they're doing it, what kind of feedback. they get.
You're saying we would go away from like precincts and go to a polling station,
Vote center.
vote center, because if I'm in Polo, in a vote center, but I live, south of Mellon.
Yep.
I could go to Polo and vote, because they'll have the ballot, this will
Now,
Bring up-
and you'll-
bring
and you'll
up-
be on this, yep.
bring up the right ballot for
That's
the
right.
district.
And,
that I
and
vote.
that ballot's based off from what Doug is given or what he has in his election system already. So they're based off, and yeah, if you're gonna have, if you're just a city ballot or just a school ballot or whatever, for as an example, that's gonna be broken down based off what's in the election system. And, but as a vote center, we put the whole county file in here. And then you are allowed to go and vote wherever you want, yet you're still gonna have whatever ballot is available to you. It's
For-
based off of that, like that label that I just printed off. They would pull that off that printer, they would look at it and it would tell them what the ballot is that they're gonna give them once they hand it to the ballot clerk.
We would have to print a lot more ballots, wouldn't we?
With vote centers, that's the one thing. With vote centers, you have to have each ballot at each location.
Yeah, and not having any idea how many people are gonna be voting that ballot at that location, you have to have lots
That's
of.
exactly right.
Well, and the advantage of only having 5 locations.
That helps.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the fact that they're short travel. You know, it's a lot easier for me to travel to Polo, because we're now getting further than it was in Zell with the packaging ballot.
I think we should give it serious thought.
And Doug will have software too on his side that he'll be able to watch these, they're connected there. If he sees that, for example, he can break it down per precinct base. If he sees that they've used 50 or 60 of a certain ballot, he can get one of his runners out there to start heading out with the ballots out to that location. And you're not gonna run out and have people calling you saying, hey, we've got 30 people standing here that need a ballot. We need a ballot.
That's exactly what one of the auditors said during one of our discussions, is that she periodically looks at it, sees how the polls are doing, what their numbers are.
Yep. So, that's where it all kind of, I've seen the evolution from what we had to what we're at now in some counties. You know, the counties were, and this again is something that our state is, some of our neighbors have implemented some of this technology statewide. So,
If a candidate's ally happens to be a poll worker and happens to have a pile of ballots that may be cast, because you never know who's gonna come from where to vote in that election at this location, can't that person, if they want to, do like this?
I can't control the ballot. I don't control that. I'm checking UNs, all I'm
So
doing.
it doesn't stop any of that.
Doesn't stop any of the ballot stuff, nope. And there's,
Well, the more ballots you got sitting around at the more locations, it seems to me you're
you're not
doing
gonna
nothing
have
but
50 ballots sitting
exacerbating.
around. They're supposed to be in their inbox or in a.
Right, and if we have that problem, we have 3 problems, because there's 3 people
Yeah,
at each of those tables.
yeah.
And they're supposed to be the eyes and ears and checks and balances.
And again, if Doug,
What is that?
and
What
that's,
is that over there?
that's another example. Doug has,
They're all looking over there.
but Doug, with Doug,
See, it
we'll
would
see
be more
though.
complex than that.
Yeah, so like, for example, I have one check-in on here, okay? If I'm at that location, I should have one ballot that's been cast. So all of the machines, boxes, however you're gonna use them, there's one ballot's been cast. I can verify, I can go in and see who that check-in was. I don't really care because ballots are actually secret, but I can see that there was one check-in, one ballot cast, and I
But
can,
there's 10 ballots in the box.
so then
Right. So
somebody
when
committed fraud.
Somebody
When it comes
comes
back
back.
here, we're gonna see that issue.
But which ballots do you count of the 10?
We would have to almost reject the entire thing.
Yeah, so somebody
Push the
didn't get
big
their vote
pause
counted.
button. Yeah. If it was something like that, that would be catastrophic.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that was going on at this polling place that I was talking about, except for nobody was pretending it wasn't happening.
Well, that's
They were
what
just doing it in
all in
front
on
of each
it.
other. Huh?
They were all in on it.
Yes, all of them.
And again, another way that I can see it happening was with paper. You know, I can say I have 10 and have 12 ballots, I'm like, well, I just didn't write those people down. If I have 12 ballots, I should have 12 check-ins on here. It should match.
Right.
I should be able to say, okay, I have 12 here. Sometimes if you have a provisional, provisionals don't count in these, if you do the manual provisional. If you do the provisional through here, they do count in here. But if you have it where I have 13 check-ins, I should have 13 ballots, I should have 13 slips, those little slips that are there, I should have 13 of those. So I have my checks and balances. I don't care, once you've checked in, I don't control any part of that. That's the whole,
We do.
that's the ballot, yeah.
There's an inventory of all the ballots before they go out, and there's an inventory taken when they come back.
But it also would require you to have a person with an ID to be able to check in. So you couldn't just write down Jane, Sam, Joe, they were all here. You actually have to have their ID number to check them in, so it's even probably better in that manner.
Yeah, I mean, if I hand you my ID and you write it down on a piece of paper, how do I know where you wrote my stuff? Do I know that I handed you my ID and you didn't scan my ID? You could have wrote me down as Joe Blow, but yet I'm Dustin Brandell. So Joe Blow voted, I didn't vote, I didn't get any voter credit for voting. And then I realized after 8 years, I go in and it says I'm an inactive voter. Why is that? Now, I scan your ID here, I've scanned your ID here. If you voted absentee, if you're an inactive voter, whatever, it's gonna tell me on this system. And I'm gonna know that all my voters will be trained how to fix that issue. If it's an inactive voter, they go through, they ask them questions, okay, you go ahead and vote. If they voted absentee, or if they've actually requested an absentee ballot, that's actually in here too. Absentee requested, absentee received. Absentee requested, you still can vote if you surrender your ballot, if I'm not mistaken. And it will pull that up. They would have to surrender that to the poll worker. But it would say right here on the poll pad that this person has requested an absentee ballot. So again, your absentee ballot stuff is gonna keep that in line too. And Doug's his file that comes out of his election system goes into here 2 days prior. So your name changes show up, what is that, 10 days? You can't change your name 10 days. Right. So let's get married within 10 days of the election. That's really the only difficulties, I've seen where people say, well, I'm Sarah Smith, but she just got her new driver's license in between that 10 days, and her new driver's license, just so we can't find her. So we have to manually search her out, find her as Sarah Smith, because she's still in the poll pad as Sarah Smith, because she didn't change her voter record, or she changed it 10 days prior to the election. But you can still find them. I literally, when I was in another county, we were helping somebody, there was a guy with a name that had 4 spaces in it. And when I teach the poll workers to do it, I teach them to be very general, very basic to do that. And that's how we do this. So for them, it's, I can audit, I have a log on this thing of everything that I've just touched on here and showed you guys. I have that log on here to do that. He gets to see that live on election day, and he gets to, there's tools that we have that he gets to monitor. At the end of the night, these things have already they've dumped all their data, they match the numbers of those tickets and the numbers of the ballots. We grab the data out of there, we put it into your election software, and you're done. You don't have to go through, go boop, 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 and scan those people with the barcode and.
That takes me 2 days of nonstop.
Yep.
What percent of the voting jurisdictions that you've dealt with still have paper ballots?
Paper ballots, everybody.
Okay, I can remember voting, I don't remember where it was, where you went in the booth and you.
Punch card?
No, you touched on the touch screen.
But it's still printed off the ballot.
Huh?
Printed off the ballot at the end, right?
No, it did not. I think it was in Vermillion.
I think it did. I remember the touchscreen deals several years ago, but I think it printed them out.
My first one, you walked in, pulled the
Close the curtain, yeah.
pushed these buttons and this big lever, pulled out a punch card, you turned it in, machine read it.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. The ones I've seen are very similar to what you're saying. You come up, you have either your label that you come off there as a barcode, boop, you scan it on the machine, pulls up your ballot, click, 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 boom, prints out your ballot, put it in the system, put it in there. That would be more basic, I think, for you have that choice. You can have that market for you, or you can mark it manually if you want to do it.
That's we can do that now.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Try to take too much time.
Actions that want to be taken?
Very interesting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. thank you guys, appreciate it.
We'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
No wink? What is that?
No ink.
No ink.
Yep, no ink, yep.
We're gonna do plats next.
Yes, sir.
I think you had our website up there, so you guys can sure go look at the website.
Yeah, it's on there.
Online, yep.
One was not done, one was.
There you go, Justin. I see you want that.
Yeah, I better take that one. Thank you.
That's probably expensive. I didn't break.
Let's see. I got like 10 of them, I was just having to recode it back into it, so I don't want to have to do that real quick.
Plat for Pratt's.
Yes. I'll say that 10 times.
Right?
You want to see a copy? This one does require your signature and all some of the magic marker, but essentially,
What's that?
they're just segmenting on.
No, and that's one of the.
Take a small piece out of there.
Yep, it's this.
Is it a home
They
there or
wrote down,
something?
I've been in a warehouse where they have 10,000 of these, and it's just a sea of green. You're not gonna lose one.
That's the, it looks like Jeff's vest or coat.
Yeah, that is their main color. There is one state that decided to go against the color, I guess, but they ordered enough that they didn't care to change it, so. But yeah, you guys do get this too. These are the waterproof too. Like, that I guarantee you, they dropped them off in a puddle.
Oh, really?
Yep. So. You guys have a good day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
This is Mylar copy. Test it inside a folder before we.
Before I do it.
Yeah,
Do you want this back on there?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is this the new track he's working
Yeah, it's just that little 1 acre, 1.07
on?
acre.
Is that for a house or something?
Thanks again, guys.
That's my understanding.
Is there any reason to doubt any aspect of the plat at this point?
No, I'll be quite honest with you, as soon as you bring me a plat, I know it's been looked over.
And I move we approve it.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Jim Eschenbaum, second.
Yes. Where do you want? Right here.
Okay, this one. Review and sign, certificate of county commissioner, then
Then
I'll
you
do
date it.
I'll do the rest.
Okay, here.
And then the paper ones can just be done in regular.
We need all these.
Yeah.
Oh, I told you that. I told him.
Yeah, you told me. And I realize, the memory starts going with things.
Okay, Jeff. I do it black. You want it blue?
I have a blue pen. I signed mine.
I did one in black.
Isn't that bright?
That is great.
God.
There's a reason why it's that way.
Yes, good reason.
Okay, so I gotta ask permission to go to the asphalt meeting with Peter,
Okay by me.
February 16, 17.
Thanks.
One I forgot to put in there, Doug, was short course from Deadwood. Just need permission to go to that one too.
You just need consensus on both of those, Doug?
Yep, just travel commissions on.
Yeah.
Okay by me.
Do you know the dates on the short course?
I got it right here for you.
Have you already sent your?
I have not, no.
Okay, then I'll just write this down and give you that.
Okay.
March 22 through 24. At the Deadwood Lodge.
Yep.
Good restaurant there.
MSHA training will be the 1st of March, 1st and 2nd, so I'll be here for the meeting on the seminar, meetings on March 1st.
Yes, sir.
So I'll be going over the March 2nd, everybody will attend that. The Rock and Bridge, I went ahead and signed a deal for Allstate to do a hydraulic study on that. So we should be getting that back shortly. I'll know what size and how much it's gonna cost. Once we cover that, hopefully we can get it ordered and then.
What one was that again?
Pardon?
What one was that?
Warner's.
What's that?
Maybe Warner's. On the Rock Road.
What was wrong with it again?
That's the one that was posted, the little road.
The low limit
Yeah,
one?
But you're thinking of putting a concrete one in
we're talking about putting a box in it.
there, box it.
So Allstate's doing the hydraulic study now. They were already up there and surveyed it. They haven't got back to me with the size. And so we cover that. We'll probably be up here to get approved to purchase the box, get it ordered, and then be able to put it in this spring sometime.
I was gonna say, do you know where most of those boxes are? You think few months out usually, most of them?
Yeah, it's a ways out, but it sounds like if we get them ordered right now, we can get on the list quicker.
Right, you made it sound like the sooner the better through the winter, but
Yeah,
it's kind of a slow season, right?
so that's kind of the plan, what's going on with that. So as soon as I should hear by next meeting, then we should be able to come up here and present. I'm gonna mention, I didn't put it on the agenda, but up there, east of Englewood, it's on that gravel road that's always underwater. It's down pretty low right now, but this bridge being out, gonna put more pressure on that, so I hauled rock last week and shored that up a little more. We're gonna have to open that road probably, so we should probably be thinking about raising that grade up, I think. Because going up around wasn't a very good option, and now that the water's down, it stays down, it'd be a good time to go in there.
How below is it right now, below the existing?
No, I'd say it's a good 3 feet below, maybe more. So, just a heads up, I think if that keeps going that direction, we should probably maybe raise that grade.
Did it kind of hold itself together pretty well underneath there? Or you
It
just
did
gotta raise it,
come
or
in.
does it have to be widened again too?
It's gotta be widened if we raise it to the point that it's not gonna get on the road, we'll have to widen it. Which is why it's gonna take a lot of rock. But I think we need to do it, because it's gonna keep happening. It tailed up pretty good, we had that strong north wind there last fall, it blew so hard. It ate away at it pretty good, so I rocked it up, we're gonna put some gravel on it, at least get it open while this bridge is being repaired. So we can talk about that later too, but I think we should, if it stays low, we should probably think about getting it.
So this, you're saying that road would be pretty necessary to bypass while the bridge is out, is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Be, pretty much the only way across there.
Yeah.
So. Spring load limits, I'd like to put a reminder in the paper that that'll be coming up generally around March 1st. We'll put that in the paper and remind people, and I think it's a good idea to put the letter in there that we send it to the motor carriers to help enforce that posting. I think it'd be a good idea to put that in there right alongside the reminder so people can see that we are
Enforcing.
trying to enforce that, yeah.
How come we don't see these overweight tickets like we used to see? There were $25,000 fines and all that. Remember back 10 years ago when that was common?
Probably the biggest whopper is the one north of Wessington in recent history, isn't it?
How much?
That big fight over a amount of crap on that bridge versus the weight of the vehicle.
Are they just not enforcing this stuff like they used to?
I would say
Well, it
eventually
tapers
the
off.
slow ones learn.
Huh?
Well, I think a little of it is the availability scales. The farmers now have got scales that they can weigh their trucks. They know where they're at.
Scales on grain carts have gotten to be really accurate.
And they can make it. I mean, you can get a truck loaded. I mean, we're loading out of the field. And they don't vary that much from what your cart says to what it is when you get to the elevator. So, I mean,
there used to be grossly overweight.
well, I think a lot of it was they just looked at the pile of grain in the trailer. And the grain varies in weight.
So the technology is improved.
Yeah, the technology. is great. And I think people themselves have figured out
Right.
we're just busting stuff up if we keep doing this. I mean, it's hard on the roads, hard on the equipment that's hauling.
Okay, the skid loader. It's got an issue. I had the technicians come and look at it. The back tires aren't straight on. I don't know if we bought it that way or what happened, but they come out and looked at it. I told them I thought it had a bent axle, but they said that's not, the wheel would wobble if it had a bent axle. So they're not sure what's wrong with it without tearing into it. They thought it would be a good time to just trade it.
How many years we got on it? And what would that difficulty, how would that impact its trade value?
Oh, I'm sure if you put it up there, it impacted some. I don't know.
What is it now? What is it? Brand is it?
John Deere 320E. Bought it probably 7, 8 years ago. So, but the tires, the back left tire wears off when the rest of them are about half. We ran to a blue out. It's time to put tires on our side. I haven't looked at, see why, and something isn't running straight, but it can't visually see it on the outside, but I don't know what it is.
How many hours are on the machine?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look. I should have got that.
Are they happy with John Deere otherwise? I mean, we'd like to stick with John Deere, or is that?
Not necessarily. We've looked at other ones.
Is that why you've got it listed as number 3 on the graph that follows for replacement?
Yeah, I got, well, not necessarily number 3 right now. We're probably at the top of the list, but just.
I didn't mean in priority.
Sure. But no, actually, I got a quote for New Holland, but I intend to look around to see what others, because they went with, the bid they get from, can't say,
Purple Wave? No, not Purple Wave. Something Source.
Source Trailer, yeah.
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell, yeah, there you go, thanks. On all the makes, Sourcewell's usually got a bid on them, on all of them, so we can look around. And I did get a bid from Titan for what they've got on theirs. But, it's not, they're not gonna stand behind it till you actually put a name on it. We did give you a number, but for a New Holland with tracks was $58,500, which I didn't sound like too bad, but. You're gonna look any place else either.
I suppose the big thing will be probably what they're gonna give you for the other one.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Or would you do
It's like the way Purple Wave.
purple? That's what I was wondering. Purple Wave. Sell it through it's called Purple Wave. It's an online auction.
Oh.
You did a blade on that, didn't you? Or that was through, it might not have been through Purple Wave, it might have been through Big Iron or something like that.
Yeah, we did that once before. It was someplace else. I think we went with Machinery Trader.
I think that's, I can't remember which one.
Did all right on that deal too. But. So.
Yeah, that doesn't seem too bad for a track
No,
machine.
that's comparable in size to what you got.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go any, I mean,
Yeah, we'd like to stay about the same size. I don't want it too big that it's not handy. I don't want it to get too small.
The big thing is, I always think it's the controls myself. I guess whatever you had for controls, you probably stay with those controls so everyone can run it. They're not really.
But some of the new guys like the joysticks.
Oh, they do? Okay.
But
Tracks are a huge advantage when you're off over the edge of something or whatever, and you don't have them tires dropping in like you do with a wheeled machine. Sometimes those tracks save your butt from ending up upside down. I know that.
They're good and bad. We have tracks too, and we're
And I was gonna say,
in snow, they're in ice, they're awful. They're terrible.
we got a lot of bridge work coming in, so it's kind of what I was looking at tracks.
because you're in softer,
Yeah.
and soft ground didn't make a heck of a difference.
So, anyhow, I guess I'll just check around somewhere. I didn't get it checked out as much as I probably should, so I'd like to look around, see what else is out there. But I
Yeah,
think
it'd be
if
nice if you think that's really where we want to be. See if we can have it for next meeting, if make a decision, hopefully.
It's gonna take you a while to get them.
take a little bit. So
And
I,
you want it, the season's coming up, so.
it is, we're right around the corner. Our big loader, the big John Deere hybrid loader, the warranty just ran out on that. Jerry called me and asked me if I wanted to extend it. $4,350 isn't a lot for 1,000 hours, I guess.
How extensive is that warranty?
Like
everything?
I think it still covers electrical and all this stuff, you know.
Some kind of deductible associated with it?
Oh,
What do you put on for hours on that?
About 1,000 hours. We've had it 4 years, got 4,000 hours.
Okay,
Right on.
So that'd get you another year.
so it'll get you another
It'll
year.
give us one more year, so.
Seems reasonable, right?
4350 don't go very far
No.
in repairs on
Not on
industrial machinery, that's for sure.
Wouldn't be the worst idea, I guess,
What,
If you're gonna keep it,
when
I'd
do you
say.
need to renew that?
right away. It's out of warranty right now. It'll just be a phone call to Jerry and he'd get it on there.
Well, if that's in your budget, I don't think you need our approval, do you? If it's-
You want a motion for that? Probably wouldn't hurt, no, huh?
Consensus or motion, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'll make a motion, we spend the 4350 for 1,000 hours.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
The grab tech bucket that I would like to get a hold of, it's a demolition bucket. I'm just gonna show you a picture of it.
Do you want me to try and pull it up, Jeff?
Yeah, if you can.
They spelled grab tech, right?
There you go.
Smaller version?
No, it's actually, it's a demolition bucket. It's
This is for
the big loader.
the big loader.
Is that Carolyn Harkins?
That's a medium-sized loader.
And that'd just be a hay
I was gonna say, that'd be good for moving hay around.
Put a model
Was that
R,
closer?
or no, put a model RDX.
No forks on that one. That forks.
Is it, the split?
Is it an attachment or a whole bucket?
It's an attachment.
Oh, is it spelled right?
That's not a bucket.
What's that?
It's not really even a bucket, it's more, and them halves work independent.
I think the one top one comes down against it.
You know, the top, but I mean, as they come down, this one can go further than this one.
Yeah.
They're independent.
It looks like a logging.
Yeah, it looks like stump. It's made
Oh,
for
I've
trees.
seen
How about that third one over in the second row? Is
Here,
that it?
No,
it's a two.
it's got
Oh.
two move, I think, don't they, Brown?
Those are extremely handy buckets.
Okay.
Anyway,
And you're basically wanting them for trees, and that's what you want.
Trees, rocks, concrete.
Concrete,
Yeah.
they're made for.
We should have had one.
So they rotate both,
Yeah.
open and rotate this way both?
So I called and had Jerry give me a quote on that. 26,695,
Jeez.
and they're 6 to 8 weeks out.
What'd you say for price? 26,000?
26,695.
So how often do you think you'd use that?
We use a lot. I mean,
Especially when you go tearing bridges and stuff out.
We couldn't talk another county into going with us on the purchase and maybe use it when we aren't. We'll use it when they aren't.
honestly, I don't.
The only problem with that is
You're gonna
their
need to take
construction
time.
season is so small, everybody's doing it at the same time.
And also,
You'd have
there's gonna be
to.
times you switch buckets several times a day if you've got it available, probably.
Yeah.
It's,
Have you talked to some other counties that have that particular one?
No, I haven't. This would be handy for pulling trees out. We got a lot of trees in ditches.
As
Small
well.
trees, you can just drive by, yank them out, throw them in the side dump.
I've used one on a skid steer and man, they're a handy bucket
Just-
for trees and brush and rock, like I said, rocks or concrete or, do we have a grapple at all on a payload
No,
bucket?
we have never had one for
Yeah,
unreal. We should have had one forever, but
Yeah.
haven't had.
if we don't have a grapple at all, this would be a good alternative to putting a grapple on a payloader bucket.
I don't think if you put a grapple on a payloader bucket for what you're gonna,
No.
you're
no.
just gonna tear it apart. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
you have to go with the bucket you're looking, or the
I think so.
gravel system you're looking at, or bucket, or however you wanna explain that. But
Are they about the only resource for getting that license, or have you checked anywhere else?
I guess I didn't check anywhere else. I knew of this one. I called the company and asked him if that's a solid bucket. He said, you're not gonna purchase a bucket. Here, what you do to it.
How big of trees can you move with it?
as much as that motor will lift.
Like this?
Oh, no, but you
Like this?
can go 4 to 6 inch tree, grab it right on
If
the.
we removed every one that was in an improper place right now, and we did it around the clock, how long would it take to remove them all?
You wouldn't get it done.
I don't know, it'd be, gosh, you spend 2 weeks in each corner at least, I would guess. Just pulling
Once you've done that, when would you have to do it again? Would you
Well-
wait another 5 years?
at least, I would guess, you're probably gonna have to spray the ditch and get all the little sucker trees that come back. If you pull the roots and all, you're gonna get most of it.
just think of the road that runs past the backside of GAR. And all those trees,
Yeah.
pluck them out like toothpicks. Those are
And
all
there's
about
stuff like
6,
that
10
all
inch
over the
diameter.
county, I mean.
Well, that's not exactly correct. You can't just pluck them out like toothpicks because they have roots. But you're gonna start pulling those roots and utilities
Oh, yeah.
that are anywhere close. You start tearing entire root balls out, you might tear up some utilities.
Yeah, if you got
Not
something.
to
there,
do
okay.
suckers.
Jeff, how often do you think this bucket would be used on the payloader to like load concrete into side dumps or rocks into side dumps? The reason I ask is could we put a smaller, far less expensive, the same design on the skid steer? You're not gonna be able to pull out as big a tree or whatever, but would we get by for a third or a quarter of the money if we put one on a skid steer and just not be able to do quite as many jobs?
I'm sure you could, like I say, you would limit yourself to what you could do.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're loading side dumps and if you hire a couple of trucks and you're running force, side dumps, you're not gonna keep up with the skid loader.
Yeah,
Just gotta-
exactly.
My intention is to start piling rock.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of bridge work coming up and I don't wanna not be able to get to the rocks.
Yeah.
You gotta get them on high ground, because when you got water, you can never get to them.
Grab Tech is good stuff. I've seen a lot of their stuff they build, and Grab Tech is good stuff. I would do some checking and see if there's less expensive options that are maybe close to, if not as good. That would be my opinion. Some of these other manufacturers. Wonder, does that MDS or MFS down at Platte, do they build anything like this?
I did look at theirs, they didn't have anything to compare to this one. I did look at it. It was similar, it didn't look near as heavy, but
Yeah,
Is this a purchase that was anticipated when we did the budget?
it's in the budget, yes.
It is?
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know what everybody else's schedule is, but this particular bucket is still 6 to 8 weeks out. If you order it right away.
I think
That's probably pretty good right now.
I think you'll run into that. I mean, even if you go a different company, you're gonna run into lag time. I mean, because
For longer.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that's all there, honestly.
Honestly, yeah.
but like you said, if you want to start stockpiling rock, that would be the bucket to have. For digging rock out of,
It would be.
Using that thing on a skid steer, is just like taking your hand and grabbing stuff. It is amazing to work with. That brush bucket with an independent grapple is, they're handy item.
Yeah.
Well,
So, should we check around or?
It's, do you, what would be your honest opinion about the competitors? Do you think they're gonna be, is the Grab Tech that much better? I mean, I know Grab Tech does good stuff. I've looked at their stuff several times. And
Well, honestly, I guess I couldn't tell you. I don't know any other than MDS that does make one, and I know theirs didn't look like near the bucket. I don't know who else does it, without searching.
well, could you, how soon would they have to know in order for us to keep that 6 to 8 weeks?
Oh, I don't know. I would think that would be good till next meeting if a guy wanted to do some looking.
Well, I was just thinking if you want to do some research on it and look, because there's really no sense of buying something really light and you know you're just going to walk right through it. I mean, because then
yeah,
then you
You got
feed it the
junk.
purpose.
Yeah.
You got junk, and then you're going to go buy one of these anyway.
we'll be discussing scrap iron
Yeah,
instead of.
and I guarantee you, the scrap iron price ain't as good as the other.
No. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it, but like I said, I don't know what else is out there either.
Do you, do you think your budget can handle that bucket purchase and we're not gonna have to compensate for it at the end of the year?
Right now.
Yeah.
It depends on what else we need.
A lot of stuff, a lot of year left.
Yeah, it's early in the year, but also you gotta get prepared for the upcoming season. But my concern is it's a big sum of money, and then we get to the end of the year and we need another $50,000 or $100,000, and then we start discussing, well, how did we get over budget? That's.
But this wouldn't be over budget. You said you budgeted for it.
Yeah.
It's in your.
You know, I mean, the list is long of the things we need, we like to have.
Yeah.
It's just things that we're gonna have to consider. This list I've got of things that need to be considered also. And that's the only reason I brought it. You've asked me before about the equipment we got and what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask with the rest of that equipment, is that all stuff you would like to do this year? Or is this all things that you feel just, these are the next things that need
Kind
the
of
next
makes
coming
sense.
years?
And I think that Top of the list is probably that skid loader, just because it's damaged, you know. I would go there. And the graders are a next year thing, because Sioux Falls, I talked to RDO, they've got to deal with Sioux Falls, the city of Sioux Falls, they leased their graders for 5 years. In 2 months, when I talked to him last week, I talked to the salesman, they've got to decide whether they're gonna keep them or upgrade. I can't see that they'll keep them, I believe they're gonna upgrade. So he couldn't give me any numbers, so I'm just throwing a ballpark number out there. They're gonna want 250,000. I'm hoping for less, but I'm just thinking that's where it's gonna be, because none of the machines are gonna have over $1,500 on them. They're gonna be 5 years old.
Are you guaranteed to get one because you've talked to them already if they do it?
He guaranteed me I'm on the top of the list, because I've been talking to them for 2 years.
Okay, so just wondering.
So,
Because that's the biggest item, obviously, by far.
yeah.
So,
But you had blades to sell.
Yeah, and that was
Is that what you're figuring?
the 350.
The
That was our trade-ins. I
That's-
put a value of $350,000 on our 4 graders.
okay,
You subtract item line 2 from 1.
Right.
Before you come up with that 1-3 at the bottom.
So,
how many of these items are you projecting this year, and how many are maybe a little further out to be replaced?
I don't even know.
so next year's the graders. We really need to do something with the graders next year. The skid loader, we should probably part with that. And then that's probably about as far as we're gonna get this year if we buy the bucket, because that's where I'm at. So then the rest of it, I did buy a pickup, by the way. It was a federal surplus. It was a 3/4 ton pickup with a dually, Duramax diesel, Allison transmission, good pickup, 06, $8,500.
How old?
It's an 06.
06.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, it's even bigger, pretty good buy. It should have been 25 grand.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway. So anyway, we did get a pickup. I'd really like to get into one of these tractors. I don't know. When we get done leasing our tractors, they all go back, you know, and we got that sod buster.
Yeah.
It would be nice to keep that around so that you can keep knocking windrows down.
even after,
You're-
yeah.
You're saying own one tractor,
I would like to own at least one,
and then,
so we could do that much.
Where are they at the lease program on those? Where are we at? Is this the last year of leases?
No, we lease them year after year.
Oh, there's a year.
Yeah, but when we turn them back, we're setting with no tractors. Still need them. So it'd be nice to own at least one, two would be better, but at least if we had one, we could.
Well, I would think there'd be a way that we could lease it and then extend the lease and get you into one.
Well, that would be my thought. A guy should do a 5-year lease and buy out at the end or something like that.
How many do you usually get a year?
I got 7 last year. And,
So if you had 2 that you had, you would only need to get, you could lower that number.
I could get by with 4, yeah. 5, 4, 5.
If you had 2.
Yeah. Most counties have already purchased their tractors because they thought this lease program was going away. It got hard to get them for a while, but so far we've been lucky. The John Deere's, New Holland didn't have tractors for us for 4 or 5 years, but they finally come across last year. We got 3 tractors for them. But the problem with Titan, I don't get them till August. It's getting pretty late.
Oh, I was gonna say, that's not the time to be sending them back.
Yeah, well, actually,
The road graders, when Sioux Falls does that, they do all of theirs at once. Is that what they do?
that's
Or they
what
do
they
it
had. In the past, they used to do 1 year at a time, and they just kept rolling over every year. When they started putting snow gates in, they couldn't justify the cost of switching the snow gates every year. So they want a 5-year plan. And so this is kind of a new deal for them too. I can't see them guys keeping those graders without warranty. I think they're gonna part. I have no idea what the price is gonna be in light of what's going on now.
I guess I just think that that's such a big ticket item,
Mhm.
and maybe there's no way if they all come up at once, but it'd be nice to spread that out, of course, over several years instead of all at one time. You know?
Well, I guess my thought was if we could get into that and sell the old ones and put 100 or 200 down, you could finance all 4 of them for the price of 1 grader. And they're still all basically new. None of them have over $1,500. That way you got all 4 of them, and then if they stick with that same plan in 5 years down the road, you can do it again. That's kind of my thought on it. But
So what you got figured out is if your numbers hold and they cost what you think they're gonna cost, you could actually trade all 4 of them, trade the 4 we got, and end up basically financing for 1 really.
yeah,
And having 4 of them sitting in your yard.
yeah, you don't want to replace.
If you can do that, that's pretty much a no-brainer.
So, yeah, well, that's what I thought. That's what I'm kind of working on. But I say I haven't got no hard numbers yet. They won't even give it to me. He sounded like he's gonna get them to me in about a couple months.
Because I think
And they will have them next winter yet. We wouldn't get our hands on them until probably April 23.
How many hours do ours have on them?
Most of them got over 10,000 on them now.
so we're looking at where we're gonna have to start sticking
Yeah.
lots of money. That's what I mean. If these numbers hold anywhere close, I mean,
I think it's a good opportunity, and we're gonna be sitting in a good position to do so, because our debt service line will be almost zero. I think
We took 2 items off.
It's pretty
The
amazing.
dozer,
When it was that long.
mhm.
what just came off?
The loader
The loader.
and the pug mill is paid off in 23, and I think that's the last item. Well, the gravel trailer, but that's just 2 payments, so that'd be good.
Do we need any more the in-dump trucks?
Yeah.
You're always looking for that,
Yeah, I got 2 older ones left.
and you'd like to replace
I'd
them.
like to get them, then we have all Sterling trucks.
You just been waiting for state auctions for most of those, I said.
Yeah,
Them are kind of a opportunity type thing.
yeah.
Opportunity
For the
arises.
money there,
You gotta-
you know, it's for the money and what you put into them for expenses, they're probably the cheapest thing we own. You go back and look, what we put into them, it's not much, so. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, but I'll keep you updated on that Sioux Falls deal, and I'll check into a bucket. Say we're 6 to 8 weeks out, we're kind of out of the rock hauling season by then anyway, but by then we'll be going to the field, and most of them you ain't gonna be able to get to, and hopefully next spring is not too wet.
Well,
So this
Before
way,
you go, I have a question. After the construction was completed on the ratio hog facility, pursuant to the road agreement that we signed with them, there was to be a survey made of all the construction routes to see that they had restored everything to its original condition. Has that been accomplished?
not to my knowledge, I went on it myself, and it stayed pretty good. What I'm not sure is if we sent a bill, but did you see it yet?
I don't remember seeing it yet.
I may have to resubmit the bill.
I mean, there was some restoration work that needed to be done.
Yeah, during construction on the Sunshine Road, we fixed some bad spots.
Okay.
They haven't paid that original.
I haven't seen the check, I didn't know if that good or not.
I don't remember seeing it.
How much was it?
Would it have been from Ogdenbaugh or from Pipestone?
I would probably pipe it.
Ratio.
How much was it then?
I don't know. He generates the bill.
I think it's $12,000 in that neighborhood. I gotta look at it too, but I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, we were make sure to get that cleared up.
I'll check into that. And I've been meaning to ask Doug, I forgot, so I'll check into that.
What else you got for us?
Oh, it's time to advertise for bids for our road oil and the rental equipment. So,
Is that just consensus approval from us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we can advertise it. There's some bridge iron out at the roadside. It's kind of in the way. I was wondering if we could just declare that surplus, I'd haul it over to Huron and get it sold.
Do we need a listing of the items, Doug?
Just a general description, so like if they're like 16 foot, like 4 16-foot stretches of 1 foot I-beam or whatever.
Okay,
Or if you're a good guesser and say approximately 2,378 pounds. Whatever.
The pounds would be what the pounds would be, I guess, is.
Yeah, when we had our discussion post audit, that was kind of like, try to avoid being vague in your description of surplus property.
Well, it is a, it's not even really surplus, it's junk, isn't it? It's scrap.
it's scrap iron, it's all bent up, I mean, it's not quality.
Couldn't use it for anything even.
Scrap iron with some value as opposed to just trash, I guess, but.
They want inventories of gravel pot. I'm glad I don't have that job.
Count the stones?
Well, there's some formula, right, where you take the peak, the slope, the diameter of the base, and
Anymore, they got a drill, they can fly it, they can tell you just pretty darn close what's in it, so.
Jeff, do you know, is that all just like that kind of iron, or do they take any kind of iron? Because I know like the DOT shop, there's that crap on that east fence too.
Oh, yeah, they would take that out there too.
Let's get rid of everything.
Take pretty much everything.
It's probably stuff that's
Honestly?
too.
Take a picture of it before you load it up, and then if they say, where did he sell? Just show them the pictures.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Okay.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
I think that's all I've got.
That was a lot.
A little more
Those are the
than
big numbers always, you know, some of them anyways, those big, large equipment needs.
One thing, I'll always make this statement about our highway department. When we had that deal at the community center, and Greg Barbara told us that the state formula says that our $2.4 million budget for our highway department is $3 million less than it needs to be.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was astounding, that our highway department operates at 40 cents on the dollar of what the state recommends our highway department should be, so. But we still have to operate within a budget or do as good a job as we can, but our highway department is.
The picture of
extreme-
efficiency.
The picture of efficiency is exactly right. Maybe we don't have the absolute best roads are as good as some people would like them, but we're doing really good for 40 cents on the dollar, in my opinion.
That was astounding to hear that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Doug,
Yes.
you wanna take us into the next?
Want to break your heart? Answering Dave's question. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the CPI, which we will use to calculate our budget for the coming year, is gonna be 3%, which is the highest it's been in at least the last 4 years I've been watching.
You done 22 or 23?
22 payable 23. So when we do our budget prep, we're using 3% on the growth rate.
I think that seems way too low.
It is, but it's the best we've seen. We went from 1.7 to 1.4 to 1.2 this year.
Something like
So-
there,
It's quite a change. In your packet, you'll see resolution 22-07. And 2207 is the result of when we do the budget, we approve it in October, and then we send it to Pier, to the Department of Revenue, Property Tax Division. And then we calculate what the mill levy is gonna be for the tax revenue. And so that has to be approved by the Department of Revenue. So they go through that, and then they issue the statement. So the problem that existed was, in the original budget that we prepared and I published, there was an inaccuracy, a misstatement of the amount of property tax revenue. And it was only $8,000 difference. And it was enough of a percentage that kicked it back. So what this is, we talked about this in previous meeting, is this resolution says that resolution is still valid in all respects, except for now the levy percentages, you guys. So this is the letter that comes from the legislative or Department of Revenue. Well, this is CPI. The resolution is here, and so you'll see in 21-04, the listed levy was $1.508 per thousand. And after they did their examination of it, it is 1.506. So that 2 thousandths of a difference required us to do an amended budget.
Do you need approval for that resolution
I
then?
do, and then it has to be signed by each of you because it becomes part and parcel of the budget that was adopted.
So is it resolution 2205 that needs approval?
Should be 07.
07.
07. Then I would move we approve 07.
I will second that.
Any other discussion?
Oh, yeah, that's right, it is 07, yeah.
Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And that does require
That's good.
TVs and A's, get signature. He's absent, so he won't be able to sign it. Okay, and then the next item on here, if I can do this without closing it, is while we were closing out the books for 2021, we discovered that LEPC and the rural access infrastructure budgets were over. We overspent it. So I sent out a question to the other auditors across the state, and got a variety of answers, but ultimately, at the end of the day, Rod Fortin, who is the guy that is local government liaison for legislative audit, said it's an insignificant error, move on. And so basically, I just need you to take note of his response, which is up on the screen. It's an email that explains that we were over $144.99 on LEPC. The highway department overspent $3,017 for rural access. That was engineering that was used to do that inventory for the townships. And his response is simply the budget authority and its ability to amend ends on 12/31 or whatever year. The amounts overspent are not material and will not require a note disclosure, so I would just move forward. So please make note of that in case it comes up in a future audit. And I will save this email forever and ever.
Okay.
And, okay, so now we're back to resolution 2205, which is the ability to sell off what I call minor value, low value property. After the last meeting, we talked about the necessity of it being 2 department heads, 1 commissioner and all that. And Gibbs suggested that you just go with 3 landowners, and the complexion of it is based on who's available. So that's really the only change that I did to that resolution. Is that we just find 3 real property owners who do the appraisal and then sell it online. So I would ask you to approve resolution 2022-05.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, so the next item that follows that is the policy So the resolution is where the authority comes from, the policy is how it's done. This basically did not change. An item gets appraised. This board still has to declare all that property surplus before it can be disposed of, even if it's junk. I mean, the only thing that a department head can dispose of that is not declared surplus is a supply, consumable item. Once you start using it, you use it until it disappears.
What about that scrap metal we just dealt with?
Well, unfortunately, it's a tangible object that existed after its use, so it has to be declared surplus.
We didn't do that.
No, we didn't, but it's not too late.
I move we declare that surplus, that scrap surplus.
And that scrap, and then where they were talking along some fence.
I just,
At
The
the
contents of the iron pile,
Yeah,
oh,
declare it scrap too.
okay,
Can we do them both in the same one?
I'll just declare it the contents of the scrap iron pile.
And whatever documentation that has to go with it.
Yep. I think the photo should. be
I think the
sufficient.
photos sound good to me.
I would think that'd be sufficient. Do you want a
Is there
motion?
a second? Jim?
Luke made the motion.
Second.
Jim left one second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of declaring surplus, aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Good catch, Jim.
So in this policy statement, the reason I started doing this is because our policies are buried in the agenda, or they're buried in the minutes. And quite honestly, people will come in and say, well, when did we make that policy? So I started numbering these, just so it's easier to find the damn things back in the future. So basically what it says, we identify the item you guys declared surplus, we post it online, we sell it at the appraised price. If it sells, good. If it doesn't sell, we come back, we reduce it by 50%, we try it again. If it doesn't sell again, we reduce it one more time. If it doesn't sell, it's garbage. It has no value, we get rid of it. So,
Is it necessary to do it that many times?
Yeah.
So if it,
is it honestly? No, but I'm hoping that it just goes quickly and painlessly, but.
Okay.
If we need to revise the policy, it's a lot easier to revise the resolutions. So if you would, approve that so that Greg can sign it and we can attest to it, and we'll make it part of the permanent record.
Motion to approve.
So it will be found forever and ever and ever.
so second,
second.
Jim Jones, second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is the designation of somebody to be our point of contact for the Division of Wildland Fire Suppression. We did this 2 years ago, and it's time to do it again.
Does it have to be a commissioner, or didn't we name Arlen?
We've named Arlen
We
in
did,
the past, and he said he would continue to do that. He doesn't have a problem with that at all.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, then the policy on the snowplow. So this came up after we published it, and basically it's the same thing, because basically every year it's just being approved as part of the normal business at the beginning of the year. But I couldn't find the original policy. So if somebody wanted to see the actual policy, I didn't have a copy of it. So this basically is, again, just to make it easier to locate it in the future. I assigned it a number. The only difference here is that the Heights shop was removed from the location of where we initiate snow removal. And I did visit with Jeff after talking to Greg about the north shop. And so, I don't know if you spoke to him or not.
I did.
It doesn't, none of the blades fit in there anymore, but they do keep smaller trucks in there. So,
Where'd you finally unearth all this text?
well, we publish it every year.
Yeah, but where'd you find the original?
I never did.
Oh, really?
No. So I just took what we've been using and pulled out Heights, and here it is in its glory for you guys to give the official seal that this is it.
I have moved that we accept it as our official policy.
And I did start numbering them, so this is 22-01.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
I-
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is our postage machine, is we lease that from Pitney Bowes. And we pay $107.28 for it. It's a contract that runs for, I believe, 5 years. It expires in April. Pitney Bowes has been in this business for decades. Unfortunately, nobody in South Dakota is going to carry the product or service it. The company that used to service it was Quadrian of Sioux Falls, and they use a different machine, and it's $5 cheaper. So what I'm asking you to do is to allow me to execute an agreement with them to rent their machine from them.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
If we didn't have that machine and instead bought stamps and took our stuff down there if necessary, we'd save postage for 200 letters a month.
Roughly. The biggest advantage of that machine is when they do like the tax assessment notices, and then now, they used to have to stand in here, but now Pearl can take this to her desk and run all of those notices through there. And it just saves her time from licking, stamping, pushing. The alternative is that some counties buy pre-posted envelopes and then have them printed, put their logo on. But I looked at that too, as to whether or not there was really.
That's 2,500 letters for the postage a year that we're spending on a machine instead of doing this. Only you don't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah, and the other alternative is the postage service, USPS, allows you to buy postage online.
Yeah.
And you can also print the postage label from your computer.
Might we be better off doing that?
Honestly, I've looked at this and thought, does this really break even? I mean, I really have, because it's kind of like, I just don't see that it does break even.
That you spend that much a month.
Yeah, that we're leasing a machine to save 3 cents per stamp. The other problem with the Pitney Bowes machine,
Come up with 100.
Yeah.
the other thing with the Pitney Bowes machine is the ink cartridge. If you bought a genuine Pitney Bowes ink cartridge, it was over $300.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was buying it for $9 off eBay.
Well, do our offices, do you think they would have any problem figuring out how to access these postal services online?
Well, I sent out a questionnaire by email, and I only got feedback from a couple. Because my question was about using the stamps.com, where you would just do it online
Yeah.
or through the post office. And there was really no big, I don't even know what to call it. Nobody protested if we were to skip and do something else.
I would think the two offices most affected are the treasurer and the assessor, right?
Yes.
Well, they don't have
And
any problem
then
with
the
it.
clerk, because the clerk gets to do their mail through us, because they send out their jury notices and stuff like that.
At
But
our
they don't-
expense?
It's not as many letters as you think a month.
Huh?
Nothing. I'm just
What'd you come up
doing
with?
the math in my head.
Thinking out loud.
Well, I just
About
had a question.
100%.
You'd have to send out 34 letters a month just to cover the machine. If you're saving 3 cents on every postage. Would you save
Lot
more?
than
Would
that.
you save more on something that weighs more?
Far more than that.
Way more.
It's always 3 cents.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it costs 50 cents to mail a letter, and this is 50 cents we wouldn't have to spend if we just did it ourselves, and it's $100 a month roughly.
400.
That's 200 letters worth of postage we're throwing away every month.
No, you're throwing it. Yeah, I guess if that's what you're looking at. I was just going by saving the savings of 3 cents a parcel.
Oh my God.
On those large ones.
You'd have to have 34 letters a month just to cover the cost of that.
Way more.
No, if you got
3 cents times 34
you do
letters.
100.
That's only $1.50.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Never mind.
Well, to be honest with you.
I'm not going to Redfield.
Can we just do away with it and see how it goes?
Exactly.
I mean, we can always get it back.
Right.
It's not like it's,
Yeah, it's not like we're in a year contract with them.
Right.
And it sounds to me like you'd have to get new machines anyway.
God, $300 for an ink cartridge.
That's terrible.
So they're $9 on eBay?
Yep.
That doesn't surprise me.
No.
And then there's a catch basin with a filter in it. That was $40. It's just a piece of woven cotton. Looks like a gauze.
got-
I used to use
just
on
the
cotton
ink-
balls.
Just the ink is 600 letters worth of postage.
Right.
How do you want it handled?
Honestly, that's what I was thinking. What he just said is just let this thing expire, see how the departments exist with regular postage. And if it becomes an issue, then we can call those people up and say, hey, is that offer still good?
are they gonna get their stuff out before that turns up?
Well, to be honest with you, the easiest way to do it is to buy a pre-posted mail and then have her stick the logo. Because if you buy a forever envelope, right? Then we don't care what the label is.
Yeah,
Because that's what the game warden told me. He's like, hell, Game and Fish just buys pre-posted envelopes. Postage change, they eat it.
well, they make their envelopes. Yeah, sounds like a good
Okay,
idea.
I like it.
That's my opinion.
That's one less thing I have to deal with.
Well, okay. So each department's gonna order their own.
They'll fend for themselves.
Okay.
Which means they won't have to add anything to their budget, will they?
Well, I have money in my budget for postage,
Okay.
so if they get short, I can just get your permission to
Okay,
arrange it.
where would all the postage right now be coming from? Out of whose budget? For
Mine.
the treasurer's office.
Yeah.
Then they need to take that into account next budget year.
Right.
This
And I
this
pull
fall.
mine down.
Okay, yeah.
But they won't know what it is until they go through a cycle of a year.
They probably won't because he's been paying the bill.
That's what I mean. They're gonna have a hard time figuring out where they need to be. We might just have to, that part of their budget may just have to.
We'll guess.
Make sure we put enough in,
I don't know.
because it's gonna
I
take
don't know.
a couple years to figure out what they're.
If she sends out
Because
3,000
what
notices, that's
I would be
$1,500.
getting at is how many letters do they send out here a month?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
But you'd have
Oh,
to
talk
send
about it.
10,000 fewer letters to make that up. 3 cents. Something.
The last time I looked at the machine, during its lease, we had spent $30,000 on postage, which was astonishing.
But how many years was that?
I think it was 5.
So 50, 200.
No, it's gotta be more than that, because my budget
I mean,
for
a year.
postage is only 5.
6,000 a year.
5 or 6,000.
Yeah, well, he said.
Yeah,
I'll be
I think,
glad to get rid of it, because that's, I'm not gonna call it a POS, but it's pretty darn close.
Point of sale machine?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. All right, so that's all I got for you. Thank you.
Okay.
So thankfully Will came back. So we don't have to try and run the lights.
Thank you for the
All
time,
that is
gentlemen.
inside
The
the mind.
situation was grave, but it was not as grave as I was
Led to believe.
led to believe. It's gonna get that way.
Yeah,
with what?
that takes precedence over whatever
Oh.
we got going on.
I needed to
You wanna,
Yes,
you wanna
we do.
take a break for a minute?
That's up to you.
Why don't we take just a few minutes?
certainly.
Works for me.
He's empty anyway.
And how are you, sir?
Good, I guess. As good as can be.
So, how's Jim?
So,
How are you?
good. And you?
it yesterday, not like it today. I'll take it a couple months of yesterday's steps, that's good.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
It was nice.
We were discussing budgets and how much money a winter like this saves, like heating this building. And the heat for this thing is astonishing, you know, and saves a lot of diesel fuel to have a nice winter.
Well, you know, electricity, everything, you know, we have the problems with how many times can you freeze up your propane, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep,
You know, he's not out having to try to deliver it, and, you know, when it's a 50-degree day, he goes and fills everybody up,
yep,
you know, and it's better for him, better for everybody, better on equipment.
yep.
So,
Snow removal budget is pretty much nil so far.
that's right, maybe we can get some work done.
There's sometimes that the snow removal budget, I'm sure, is totally burned up by the end of January.
Easily. And then you have nothing for December of next year.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, remember, was it 3 years ago when we got that bad snow in April, you know, feet of snow everywhere. You know,
yeah,
so hopefully we don't have one of them coming up, although you need the rain, you need the moisture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there kind of concerned about that too. So.
The wise old farmers and ranchers always tell you though that I don't have to shovel rain.
That's right.
Don't have to push it around.
A nice, slow, 1.5-inch rain.
Yep,
You know, the 1st of April. It takes 5 days to fall.
with all of the technology we've got nowadays, how come we can't control that? You know?
Exactly. I think they tried that once. I don't think it worked out so well.
It was hit or miss and somewhat out of control a few times.
A little catastrophic.
There- If you're referring to cloud seeding, there are some people or some areas have gone back to doing that. Yeah, and messing with that again.
There was a guy,
The binder?
there was a meteorologist who was on talking about the satellite views and all that kind of stuff. And he says, this right here is not snow. It is cloud seeding.
Yeah.
So that discussion. This is what he talks about. He says, whoops. Hey, here's on the budget. The problem that I have when we get audited is explaining, so what's that intended for? So that's why it'd be nice if he took that list. If he did like his vehicle inventory, he did like a condition of it,
Which means it's.
expected lifespan.
Yeah.
Because then I would be
I
able
know
to
how
say,
hard
you
that
get
is
to
to
know.
quit.
Well,
I've never had the
I
problem.
know
but I have
Jeff
a
said
sister,
that, you know, you guys have asked for
and
this
she
list
hasn't
and
smoked for
that's why I put this together, but it still doesn't prioritize you.
Oh my gosh, she still gets up every morning and wants one.
no. She said
So-
she doesn't eat that.
Part of that
Go
is
to a bar,
Oh,
and she says,
if
"Oh
there was a
God."
better
She said
way
I
for
could
the
just. She said
media
I could start
tracker
tomorrow.
she
process
can't even light up.
producing this, and that's
What?
She can't even light up.
No, it was that was the atmosphere.
Is that software is not.
Same thing with people that
Can't
can't
produce a good
They
report.
want to bring it.
If we approve that
No, I,
$58,000 skid steer and that 26 whatever grab tech bucket, and then the thing that we did approve before that, we've almost spent that $100,000 and we're first February.
But that book I made that, so it's always on the desk if you want to look. Because if somebody says it's in the budget, you can say, okay, show me.
Yeah,
Very nice.
All right, well,
All right, we're coming to an end out there with that stuff. I just wanted to come in and see, you know, how, if you guys had any questions for me.
I don't have any questions, but I think that if there are any things that you run into, we're gonna need to have commission approval. And in every construction project, there are things like that. The best thing would be to go to your liaison
yeah, I'm the liaison.
and have him get it approved from our chairman.
Okay.
All right, so just proceed like that.
Mhm.
All right, then that's what we'll do.
Signature.
And if it comes up to something that's, gets fairly expensive, I'll let Greg know, and Greg can let the rest of the commissioners know, and then
Okay,
we can kind of,
Will, for the sake of Jan, she doesn't know that you have conversations with these guys
Yeah.
about I don't even know what to call it.
the scaffolding.
The things that they uncover while they're working.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't hurt to give her a 5-minute tour of the stuff you shared with me and probably with each of them.
Okay. All right, well, that works for you, gentlemen.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? So,
Looks like they've made a lot of progress in not much time.
I'm very impressed. They are very close to being done, and we're gonna get it done. We're not gonna have to go over on the scaffolding, because the scaffolding rental ends next month.
Did you
So
cover that?
we're good on
What's
that, so.
Deadwood grants?
No,
Still need to go through
The Deadwood grant.
Okay, we need to get those, get these signed. I guess it would be the chairman would sign these so that I can take them back. We get this back to them before the 28th of February, and they will give us $10,000 in match funds, meaning we have this, and we've obviously spent more than $10,000. So, I'd originally asked for almost 24,000. They gave us 10,000. 10,000 is more than zero.
yeah, you bet.
Follow money.
Yeah,
So,
it helps us out.
and I am, let's see. We'll need to get this notarized. If I can get,
I got my stamp.
you wanna do it now or?
you want it an hour?
Yeah, I got my stamp.
Just do it.
I'm not.
Declaration, let's see. Would he sign here?
They're voting for a head check up over here.
You ain't supposed to volunteer. You're supposed to go away kicking and screaming on that.
Maybe then we can.
Because
read through
theoretically,
it.
all of these blanks should be filled in. before
Right.
we go through it.
Right, we should probably.
So I have a way to type in here without using a typewriter. So if they give you permission to execute these, we can do it at any time after I get that.
Well, for your information, I am gonna go if I remember.
Again.
You have them, sure.
Oh, you're saying?
That's awesome. I thought it was self-explanatory. I apologize.
Just if you just,
Sorry.
just leave them there.
If I could go, I think I'll have the state hospital and school.
Will you let her see the envelope so she knows the exact time what you're supposed to?
Okay,
I think, right?
really,
And then at some point, she should have a copy of those
really.
as well.
Second.
Satisfying job, you mean?
Just a great.
So did they make a motion to approve?
No, we need to.
Did you work when
Yeah, it's also
would have been
agreement.
Bev Sanger at that time?
Was that for that Deadwood grant? I'll make that motion that we, do the agreement for the Deadwood grant.
Then we'll grant $10,000.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We need to have this guy tell us when we're going back to business.
Over there for all that after.
Yeah, whatever he can accommodate. Okay, so some of this I'll go through is the first item in old business. The county used personal cell phones. I did an informal poll with other auditors to see what was going on, and basically came to the conclusion that there really isn't an easy way to define what they do. And so what I looked at is an introduction. If you approve a $10 a month reimbursement, so for example, I do use my cell phone, but I don't want people to think that's the sole means to get hold of me, because I want the freedom of being able to say, I'm gonna put this on silent instead of sun. You just heard from Ty, he's got his phone number out there on the website and the sign. So I started looking at plans. Most plans, you bundle your data and your internet and your texting all together. The average price in South Dakota for a data plan or for a phone plan with data is $45. So I just keep $10 out as a start. If somebody wants it, they can submit a voucher and get paid back for it, which they can do right now.
Do you think that employees would be satisfied with that arrangement?
Well, if they're not, I mean, it's, like I said, it's a place to start if they think it's worth more. I don't know. I asked them, there wasn't a lot of feedback.
I would move we offer that for the present and refine the policy if necessary in the future.
Yeah, I would go back and write a policy for you, but in the meantime, people can submit their vouchers if they want. Because there's some months I don't use it at all, but like election months, I use it a lot. So I might not submit one month, and I might submit another.
So who are we allowing? We got a motion, I guess.
Well, the way I wrote this is, it wouldn't be given to anybody who currently has a county-provided phone, or somebody that gets reimbursed for utilities. And so that, in that case, like Elton gets $450 a month for the state's attorney's utilities. So I didn't know if you wanted to include that, exclude it, change it.
Is this to all employees or just department?
Department heads.
Department heads only.
Yeah.
It's up to the employee to ask for it if they want it. I think probably wouldn't, but who knows?
So do you want me to remove just department head?
No, leave it at department heads.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
And then, do you want to leave it with those who don't get?
If you're not a department head, you shouldn't have to answer a county phone.
And then do you agree with the statement about the ones who already have a phone? Could also ask for it?
Yeah.
And then, like where the state's attorney gets a utility, I don't know what to call it. Allowance, yeah. Because I'm sure he uses his phone for business, our business.
How many?
He's a department head, I would say yes.
Okay, then I'll remove that part.
But you're limited to $10.
Yeah,
So
he
it's
doesn't
not.
put in for it, he doesn't put in for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a motion on the table.
Yep. Mr. Jones has.
So how much did we change the wording of your motion?
No, we didn't change it.
Okay,
I just changed the contents of what I'll probably be writing into the policy statement.
so your motion is to restate your motion.
Authorize department heads to, if they wish, to submit a warrant, or excuse me, a claim for $10 reimbursement on their phone
Per month.
per month.
I'll second that motion.
Is $10 really enough?
It's a start.
How many phones do we pay for department heads, and how many
Total or for department?
department heads?
You pay for Randy Beck's, you pay for 3 in the sheriff's office, Arlen's. That's it.
But if we're paying for them phones,
But they're
they're not,
accepted, they're not in.
they're exempted from that.
Right,
Right.
I-
I mean, you can pick whatever amount you want. I just
I don't know.
10 because it was a launch pad.
I feel like it's not really enough if you're.
There's
gonna do it.
counties out there that expect their employees to give an itemized bill. Well, I don't have to look at the bill anymore.
Well, it-
Is there anybody you can request in this, Doug, that is, I know Deb has brought this up a few times, but is there anybody you're requesting assistance with their cell phone bill that we're not already paying their cell phone?
No, it was an item that get brought up.
Yeah,
Then I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Again, we're chasing a non-existent problem with dollars.
yeah, we're,
Can we just let it die for,
Yes,
on 0 votes?
I withdraw my motion.
Lack of a second.
All those in favor?
Of what?
The motion you made.
No, I withdrew it.
you just withdrew.
I said it was easier for you to call 0 and out.
Just
To do what?
It'd be easier for me to write that it failed because of lack of votes than to say that you withdrew it.
Well, did he have a second?
Yes.
I did.
Oh, well, then we do it.
Okay.
all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Making that motion.
So now I'm gonna vote against my motion.
And you can.
All those opposed, same sign?
Nay.
Okay.
I didn't say aye. First one.
What's that? It is an easy way to kill it.
It is.
You can kill it, there's two ways you can kill that, but we have a
Because you've already
second,
made a second.
and that's the only way you can kill
Oh,
You'd have to have another motion.
Oh.
You gotta-
Another second, then a vote on the second motion to go back to the first.
okay, okay.
This is just.
I got it.
We sure shut you up there, didn't we?
All right, so Greg brought up last week about the decluttering and the status of that. So I went back through the records and found out that it was back in October, or no, it was in September, that we had the discussion about decluttering after the loss prevention guy came through and said, we finished John. The November 2nd date was set to report back either on how you decluttered or how you intended to declutter. So after visiting with Greg, I sent out an email to all the departments saying this is gonna be a topic. So I told Greg, I started getting feedback instantly. And so some of it was encouraging, some of it was discouraging, but at any event, probably the two specific items that the loss prevention guy talked about are the boiler chemicals in the basement. And the last time I looked, they're still there, but I think one of you spoke to him about getting them moved. Did you do that, Greg? Or?
Before I did, I wanted to tell you, I just have, not recently, no.
And then Randy had already hung the ladder. This is like a 15-foot step ladder that was setting expanded. And he got those things and hung it on the wall almost instantly. So that's been taken care of. It also produced a response off this floor where you can see these items to be declared surplus. And then once we activate this policy on selling it, you're going to start to see a lot more of it. But I would encourage you guys to go to the attic and just do a walk around.
Oh, my God.
Just to get a grip of what the Lost Baby guy did. I mean, if you want to, we can go on a tour right during the meeting. But like for me, the auditor's section is literally just archives and archives and archives of stuff. And Jeff told me the highway department has the same thing. And I'm like, well, you know, Jeff, maybe it'd just be easier for you to go get the incinerator, pick it up with the forklift, take it down there, and burn the crap right in the yard. Because you can run an incinerator in town. So.
We got
I mean, really
140 years worth of stuff out there from some of these offices.
Yeah, and part of the problem too is, if, let's just take this furniture here minus the chair. We're gonna, at some point, we'll need a statement whether or not you wanna preserve those chairs over there. They weren't original equipment, but they were added like in the 50s, the ones that had the leather inserts. We used to have a wooden armchair that was all wood.
Yeah.
Those are 1929 original equipment.
I think there's still some down on the assessor,
They're
or
scattered all over.
the extension office.
Yep, and then, like, if we go to the attic, which I would want you to do, you'll see that, like, the old original wooden desks are up there. Everybody's either moved to a metal desk, or a sectional desk. And so departments like Will in particular are gonna need to know how you guys feel about that.
They weigh a couple 100 pounds, these desks. How would we get them out of there? You can't take them down. Well, I guess you got them up that circular.
Well, I
stair.
took my old one up in the elevator. Put it on the old glance cart and maneuver.
I think I'd wait for the new elevator.
Well, we know it goes to the elevator does go to the attic.
Oh, yeah.
It likes it up there.
Yeah,
And so then the other place that there's a lot of storage is behind the elevator in the basement. So to get a real grip of what we're dealing with, I would encourage you to look back in there too.
What is the status of the chemicals that are used in conjunction with the boiler, and what was the problem? They were in a bad
Well,
place?
they're corrosive. You can actually see where it's eating into the wall,
Oh,
where it spills. And what's the word caustic mean?
toxic,
Yeah.
toxic.
Like
Yeah.
burns and,
It's not
And
good for
then
you.
in California, of course, it's a thing that's known to cause cancer.
of course.
Well, do we need to get them out of the building, you mean?
What the guy suggested is that they go down into the boiler room and that they be put on one of those square things that would contain
Spill pad.
splashes, yes,
Is the tunnel completely filled in?
yes.
There is no room in there at all?
It's filled with cement.
That would be a perfect place.
I don't think it's an issue having them there, they're just gonna put it in the right place.
We just need to handle it.
They need to be away from where the public has
Right.
access to.
So we just need to remind Will that we need him moved.
Yep.
That's-
Kind of guy, that's me.
Yeah, and I gave him one of those things out of like Northern Tool where the
Yep.
barrels sit on it. But they're not expensive. Some of them are, but the one I showed him wasn't. It's just a catch basin.
This sound dumb here, maybe. Absolutely everything has to go through a surplus process, basically. I mean, like you said,
Everything
it's
that's
less
not
consumable,
Right.
right? So basically, any old piece of equipment, no matter how old it is or how small it is, it has to go
If
through
you
that
can
process.
hold it in your hand and somebody give you a nickel for it, yeah.
Okay.
So
So there's a
these-
lot, I mean,
like
there's a tremendous amount of stuff that has to be ran through that process.
Yep, so like these adding machines are inoperable, but they've been sitting in the assessor's office for years, waiting for today.
Let's start with today, a whole lot of stuff.
Well, I mean,
And that's what I
you're just,
told
it's,
people.
it's gonna be a process, cause we can't,
Right, and there was this thought that you had to wait until we had a sale to get rid of surplus property. No, we don't. If it's junk and it's inoperable, they could come any month. So I just started telling people, you give me your stuff, I'll put it on the agenda and we'll get rid of it.
so, okay, what's on here right now,
Is it there now?
no, I know it's not near enough, but, I can't find what I'm looking for here. Oh, okay. From the assessor's office, registered deeds office, so them are ready to be sold right now.
The table could be sold, the adding machines don't work when you plug them in. They're junk.
But we still got surplus.
Yep. They should have been surplus when they broke.
So in other words, if he's hauling scrap iron, them need to be on the truck and go.
These.
But they gotta go through
adding
that
machines-
process and just.
They gotta go through this same process of.
Right.
That's why I wondered about the third time at 25% is really necessary.
On the topic of throwing them on with the scrap iron, they will mess that load up.
Well, yeah, they will.
It won't be iron, it'll be assorted scrap then.
Right. And
But
so-
that's what this is gonna end up being. We're gonna have to
It'll go
have
to
some
rubber-
place to put it.
it'll go to the rubber side.
Luckily, these adding machines, consumer electronics, we can just throw in the trash.
Oh, you can't.
Because the pure landfill will accept consumer electronics.
But it's gotta go through this
Yep. And the whole
40-day
idea is-
process or whatever you got.
is that you guys are the custodians of the public's property. And before somebody disposes of it, you need to know.
Better start the process.
Yep. So with that being said, the fact that you've all looked at the fact that there's 4 adding machines in the assessor's office and a unbranded metal scree shelf measuring with those dimensions, would you be willing to declare those items surplus?
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
Which one of you will make that motion?
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks. No, motion carries.
So we theoretically could have to do this every month.
Yep.
Okay.
We're gonna need a
Let's
junk,
hope we have to do it every month.
Well,
That
we
means
better
we're getting rid of
get
some
started.
stuff.
we're gonna need a junk motion every month.
Yep, basically.
Okay.
So, like the paperwork. So like I've been going through the vouchers in my office in the back room, and trying to get rid of some every week. My next thing will be to go to the attic, and look at all those vouchers. I really encourage you to go on the tour. And we'll just start burning them off. And then what you're gonna end up with is tables that this crap was sitting on before. I mean, there's no bed frame up there. There's cool stuff up there too, like antique wheelchairs, things of that nature. Yeah. It's bad. For example, like the bookcase behind you, beautiful bookcase, but the stuff that's in it.
Came over on the Mayflower.
Right. So luckily, books are exempt from the necessity, but I would still ask you if you have an intention on those books, because some of them are antique,
They all are.
except the red and black ones. They're probably 1990 something. So that's what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Item number 4 is railroad authority, and Luke pointed out that we didn't appoint somebody. So I went and looked in statute to see what process was there. And I was alarmed to find out that the statute says that the terms of the original commissioners, and these were railroad authority commissioners, are 3 years in length, and they're either filled by re-election or by fresh election, rather than appointment. So I sent it to Elton, and he's like, I need to see the agreement, so we got a copy of the agreement. The home office for the Railroad Authority is the Economic Development Office, and so once he has a chance to look at it, we'll probably end up having.
I didn't know that when you sent me that stuff and I opened it up and I was, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
Because he thought maybe if the agreement had some other conditions or whatever.
That's what I'm wondering.
So anyway, that'll be on the agenda for next month.
Or you just do
He
it.
don't remember any of it.
Well, that is a question that came up too, is
But
how
the
long
only
is it
thing
supposed
is-
to live?
Well, it lives, from what I gathered when we did it, it lives forever. Unless you don't want it to. Because they've drug it up in some other counties that they didn't even know they had a railroad authority, but they did because it was an ongoing thing. Well, all the people that were on the railroad authority were all dead. So they had to start over again. But by keeping it alive, in case something would ever, some railroad project would ever come up, it's already in place. You don't have to go through that procedure again. It just keeps it, it's there if they ever need it. Might never need it. We thought there was going to be another project, but it never came about, so that was the end of that. And I think it had something to do with they were gonna do something over there. And they approached us and we started working on it and they just decided they didn't want to have to deal with it, so.
Okay, so it'll be on, back on March.
Okay. When you find more out.
Yeah.
If you find any more out.
So I can't think of anything we missed. Luckily, Jim remembered to declare steel surplus.
Any need for executive session?
Do you want to stay in session and you want to do with me, or are you comfortable not talking about county business and relevance while we're on you?
You mean you're gonna do the attic tour right now?
If you want to go, I'll.
I can't. I gotta go home and cook my dog. Was that countywide?
Yeah,
Yes, it
pretty
was.
much. It was.
Worldwide.
At least I used pizza, yes.
So,
I thought you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I moved to turn the camera off.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Adjourn.
Okay, I wanna show you something.